myself again. But it's the only...
Happy Monday. It is NUFC Matters Match Day Live with me, Steve Wraith, and it just feels like 5 minutes since we've done this, but it's Newcastle United versus Arsenal. This time it's in the Premier League and not the FA Cup. And wow, out of the frying pan and into the fire after the defeat against Sheffield United. Newcastle need some points on the board with the way some of those results went at the weekend. As always, I'm joined by the panel, Chris, Daz, Rich, Pete, Martin, and we have newbie tonight, Liam. You will have seen him on the 5-minute rant last night. We don't waste any time. If we see somebody who's got a bit of talent, we'll get them on. And big shout out to Liam. Welcome tonight, mate.
Hiya guys, yeah, good to be on the show today. Looking forward to the match. Hopefully it should be a good result for the lads.
First Newcastle game, Liam. What was it?
Oh God, it was the season. Do you remember the season that Derby won the Premier League and they were absolutely shocking?
Oh yeah.
Season. I was at the home game for that.
Wow.
It was a 2-2 draw, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I can barely remember it, but I remember it was a 2-2 draw and Mark Paducah got the brace. So that was my first game, yeah.
Yeah, okay, mate. Good stuff. Well, welcome to the show. Enjoy the night. And I just want to say happy birthday to probably one of our biggest fans, somebody who watches NUFC Matters on a regular basis. I often get texts off him when we've come off air. And it's a big happy birthday to Peter Beardsley, my all-time favourite player at Newcastle United, a top man as well and a top legend. And I hope you've had a good day, mate. I know I texted you earlier, but... enjoy the rest of your night, and let's hope you get what you want and what we all want, which is 3 much-needed points tonight against Arsenal. It's going to be tough, Chris. We'll come to you first. There's the lineup. Carl Darlow. Then we've got no less than 8 changes tonight. Emil Kraft, Jamal Lascelles, Kieran Clark, Jamal Lewis, John Joe Shelby, Matty Longstaff, Miguel Almiron, Joe Linton, Andy Carroll, Callum Wilson. On the bench, we've got Dubravka, Hayden, Manquillo, Murphy, Anderson, Ritchie, Hendrick, Yedlin, and Sean Longstaff. What do you make of that, Chris?
That's interesting. So he's got at least 4 attacking players up front. We'll see whether it's a modified 4-4-2 or something. I'm not so sure about the backline selections. Could be a little stronger there. I know that they've had injuries and stuff like that. And John Joe Shelby back in the lineup, not happy about that. I don't know if his pairing with young Longstaff, is that's not my first choice, or probably my first 5 choices for how I'd pair a midfield, central midfield. And as we said all year, we've had issues at midfield and especially at center mid. And it seems like I can't justify Hayden being on the bench. It seems like he would be a natural selection to be in the lineup. I would start him. And I like I said, I've always said I would start Ritchie. So I don't like to see him on the bench either. But hopefully he can provide a spark off the bench.
Got to agree with you. Do you know why Hayden isn't playing? And this issue with Matt Ritchie, whatever it is really annoying as well. Manquillo did nothing really wrong, and yet he still finds it difficult to get in the team. Absolutely bizarre. Daz, what's your take on that starting lineup by Steve Bruce tonight?
Yeah, so he's gone for the 4-4-2 that I called for on Sunday. I know some of the lads called for a 4-2-3-1. Okay, the back line kind of really picks itself with all the injuries. We have no central defenders on the bench, and even Shar is out now as well by the looks of it. So yeah, Lascelles and Clark, so Lascelles back in, Kraft instead of Yedlin, Lewis back on the left back position. Don't like to see Shelby there. I would rather see Hayden, as Chris mentioned. We'll see how he gets on with Matty Longstaff. I hope he just doesn't go back, collect the ball, and put it over the top of Matty Longstaff's head. It's good to see a more attacking lineup. I called for him to go for it. He's looking like he's going to go for it. I wouldn't have played Joe Linton. I would have played Ritchie. At least then Ritchie and Lewis could kind of interchange and help each other out. Yeah, he was gone for two strikers, and I think the lads convinced me actually in the worldwide show that we needed Carroll in there. So if we can, who's going to cross the ball? But so we need someone to cross the ball to put it on Carroll's head. There's no Gale on the bench either. Something has to be going on there. Maybe there's some kind of a swap deal with the likes of King from Bournemouth or something like that. But yeah, it'll be, as always. So I always say it'll be interesting. We'll see what happens. But at least he's gone for a bit more attacking mind up. The gloves are off. So see what happens.
Yeah, it's well, it's 4-4-2. I mean, that's all I'm going to say about it tonight. I'm struggling to get excited, Rich. I'm not sure about you, mate.
Yeah, I think I'm exactly the same. I think I've wrote down the only good thing about the lineup tonight is that we've gone to a flat back four. I know during the worldwide show we did say either 4-4-2 or 4-2-3-1. Personally, I said like Martin, we both like the 4-2-3-1, but it was obvious he was going to go 4-4-2. Regards to the personnel, I think that's the bad thing. I think 8 changes is a lot. I know obviously we were absolutely garbage last week. However, 8 changes, I don't know if that's too much. I know Kraft played well when we played him in the FA Cup. That must be the reason why he's brought him back in. However, I still don't understand why Manquillo is, if he can make the bench, obviously he's fit enough. Why isn't he starting? Was our most consistent fullback last year and when Rafa was here. I can't believe he's dropped our best centre midfielder and brought Shelby straight back in. Hayden should have been one of the first names on the team sheet. Him and Matty Longstaff, when they played together over Christmas, were brilliant. Joe Linton, I just don't understand why he's on the pitch, to be honest with you. I would have either had Richie there for him and either swap Almiron and Richie flanks if they're going to be the two wide players. We did predict that we'd probably go back to Wilson and Carroll if we did go the two up top because obviously Gale's out of favour. One good thing is it did well when we went down to West Ham and we won 2-0. They did do well there. However, when they played against Brighton, the next game they were absolutely garbage. So we'll have to see how that goes. But my only concern is something that Daz mentioned before is we've put the big man in the box, but we haven't got any natural wingers to cross the ball. And I think that's one of the main concerns is that he needs the service. When he gets the service, he's good, but there's just no one I can see who's actually going to put the ball in the box for him.
Yep, okay. Good evening, Chris. Come to you now, mate, with the starting lineup. What's your thoughts on that tonight?
I'll start with the positives first. So, obviously, I'm pleased we've gone 4-4-2. I think he's had to do that tonight. He's had no other option. You know, now the gloves are off, he's going to do it his way. So, I think he had to shake things up a little bit. So, 4-4-2 is a positive. I'm also pleased to see Miggy back in the team, and I'm really pleased to see Andy Carroll in the team. So now I'll start with the negatives. I'm disappointed to see John Joe fall straight back in, and I'm really surprised, as Richie just said, that he's chosen to leave his best centre midfielder out in Hayden at the moment. Do you know what? All this week I've been looking forward to this game more than any other games for some reason, and I think it's because this is the making now of Bruce. It's sink or swim, isn't it? So it will be interesting to see how things pan out. But yeah, in terms of the starting 11, it's not the strongest, and I would personally have made a couple of changes. But let's see how it pans out, and let's give Steve the benefit of the doubt for now.
Yep, okay, Pete. Starting lineup, a lot of changes, mate. I think it's a strange one. He said on his interview on Sky just after 7 o'clock that it wasn't all down to tactics. Some of it was down to injuries. Some of it was down to COVID. Some of it is tactical changes. And when he was asked if it was 4-4-2, he didn't answer the question. He swerved the question, really. He said, well, have a look at it. I mean, it's really strange the way that he conducts interviews. I understand not everybody can be comfortable in front of a camera. But I didn't really get any confidence from listening to Steve Bruce's interview before the game. The only positive out of his interview was he didn't big Arsenal up. You're on mute. There you are.
Sorry, my bad.
Right.
You're absolutely right, Steve. But we've come to expect it from Bruce, to be honest. He never really makes his press conferences clear. I agree with Chris, really. I've secretly been looking forward to this game because he's actually, for the first time in his interviews, been quite clear in what he wants. He said about the fact that the gloves are off and he's going to do it his way, and he's been quite determined with the words that he said. And that's the first time he's ever really had an interview where he said something with conviction. So I've been looking forward to seeing what he's actually going to put together. And there are some positives in there. I talked about it on the Worldwide show with the likes of Carroll coming into the team. You wanted him into the team, you wanted him playing. There are changes in there, playing with two up top, looking more attacking, giving that support to Wilson, who's our best striker. So there are positives there, but then you look at the team, you can't help but feel deflated because, as we talked about, you want the service to Andy Carroll if you're going to play him in there. And the two players you want him in giving him or supplying him the ammo is Matt Ritchie and Jacob Murphy. And both of them are on the bench. So it kind of defeats the object of playing a striker like that if you're not really going to put that service in. Well, you haven't got the quality of service because, Almiron will give you something, but Joe Linton's purely just a runner. He's not going to give you a quality delivery. He's just going to run around up and down that left-hand side. And that's pretty much it. So it kind of defeats that object. I worry about our right-hand side tonight because they're going to play Saka down the left lightly, and he is going to absolutely tear Kraft apart because he's just not good enough, right? The fact that we keep persisting with him is beyond me when you've got Yedlin and Manquillo still fit and ready to go, but just on the bench. So that really, really surprises me, as does not playing Isaac Hayden. The only possible reason I can think why he's not playing is because we've got no centre-back cover. And there was a question mark there with regards to Lascelles in the FA Cup game. So is he going to be fit to go 90 minutes? It's questionable. I think probably 75 is a push. And I think that's why he's not started tonight. I think that's why he's done that, to have him as a backup just in case Lascelles can't make it past half-time or there's somewhere that needs to be a change and they're bringing him on fresh because they don't want him to get injured because then they've got no cover. So I think that's probably the only logical reason why I think he's on the bench tonight. But then what that does is it just ruins the centre midfield because you've got two players that haven't got legs. You've got quality on the ball when they've got the ball, but you've got no legs. It's pointless. So, I don't want to be too negative. Look, the game's going to start soon. Let's see what they're all about. Let's see if they're going to do what they've said.
Okay, Liam, Sky just showing Newcastle against Arsenal in November 2010 and Andy Carroll scoring the goal. He's back in the lineup tonight and alongside Wilson in a 4-4-2. Is there any chance of getting anything out of this game with that lineup, do you think?
It's going to be a very interesting one because, looking at the lineup with 8 changes, I think Steve has almost got it right with, the strength of the lineup. And if he's, like we said, he is playing his own way, it's going to be interesting. I maybe wouldn't have started Almiron. I would have preferred to have started Murphy. I think Kraft, him and Lewis, I just feel like they play just completely different styles of football. I feel like Lewis prefers to go up a bit more and Kraft, he's a bit more of a defensive fullback. So it just sort of contradicts itself a bit more. Shelby, I think the only reason they're playing him is just to ping long balls up to the likes of Carroll. And maybe if Wilson gets a burst of pace, just get him back through the back line. But other than that, I think he has probably got it right. I wouldn't have brought Joe Linton on from the bench. He's not got, the best quality. We've seen that he's not got the most quality. But I mean, if he does start, you never know, he could do something. But like I said, I think Steve Bruce has almost got it right. And I think maybe we could bring something back here.
Okay, interesting. Martin, wow, I still really don't know what to think about this lineup. I've only been looking at it for 45 minutes and then, listening to Steve Bruce, I mean, I thought we were going to get beat tonight anyway. I'm more concerned now looking at that, and my mind's going all over the shop with what is going on with some of our players who really should be walking into that team. And you know, the lineup to me really is not convincing. And listening to what some of the guys are saying, I'm probably going to give Carl Darlow man of the match now before the match even kicks off.
Yeah, I think all the lads make good points. I think the one glaring thing for me that we've all said prior is there's no pace in that team. There's no legs. So Shelby hasn't got nothing. Matty, we might get a little bit. Almiron, okay, you will, and probably Wilson. But outside of that, there's no pace in that team. I put a clip up there today. I wanted to go 4-2-3-1, which kind of I had a three just in front of Longstaff and Hayden, of Anderson in the middle. If ASM had been fit, I would have put him on the left. But I had Murphy and Almiron in there, creating a bit of pace. Anderson in behind, then Carroll and Wilson. But he's gone with the 4-4-2. The thing that worries me most of all, looking at Arsenal's team as well, is that right-hand side, Almiron and Kraft against Saka and Kieran Tierney. I think we will get torn a new one down that side. Almiron isn't going to be great defensively, and Kraft's going to get caught out. Saka's going to drift. So I think we could see Matty getting pulled a bit all over the place. Not convinced with Lascelles coming back in. I'm not sure if he's still 100% fit, but obviously, you know, the bench is quite poor. Hayden should have been in there. However, I will say this, and I'll give a shout out to a guy on Twitter, King of Northumbria, who's been giving me some jip recently about the team selection. He put up some stats to me today, which actually show that when Shelby is in the team, we have picked up more points than without him in the team. So as much as he hasn't got the legs, we've created more chances and had more points on the board with Shelby in the team. So I will give him his credit. He put the stats up. I've been giving him a little bit back this week, saying has to be Hayden and Matty, and he popped some stats which I'll tweet on at half time. But we do get more points when Shelby is in the team. But yeah, look, wholesale changes. I'm still not convinced by Bruce. I think, to take your point as well, Steve, you said you've been looking over the lineup for 45 minutes. I'd say it's probably the same 45 that Bruce has. But let's wait and see where we go to. But the right-hand side against Arsenal, against Saka and Tierney, for me, I think is going to be real problematic. But I'm going to go for a 1-1 on the optimistic side of the game.
Yep. Well, for me, I think we're going to get hammered tonight. I can't see anything else happening. If Arsenal turn up tonight, Arsenal have been hit and miss. They're not the same Arsenal, but they've been finding their rhythm over the last few weeks. Couldn't find the net really against us until, you know, late on in that FA Cup tie. And from my perspective, I can see Newcastle conceding early and potentially losing this by 3 or 4 goals today. I really can. So
yeah, it's a good Arsenal team. It's got pace, Steve. I think going back to the cup game, I was really impressed with Emile Smith-Rowe. I thought he played really well in the cup game. I think he's definitely a one for Arsenal's future. But that front four, Aubameyang, Smith-Rowe, Saka and Lacazette, they've got pace, they've got goals. And then we've got to put up with the likes of Tierney and Soares getting down there, Thomas in behind them, Xhaka, who we know can play a ball. So if we leave gaps between the midfield and the defence that we nearly always do, then I can see that three, and in particular Xhaka, having a field time. So I think it is going to be a tough night, but let's see.
Yeah, I certainly think there will be. Big shout out to our sponsor, oldcoachhousedistillery.co.uk. Visit their website, enter the code OCHD to claim your introductory 10% discount and get the most out of your mindful dry January. Try the Ginesque. I know Steve Hasty has bought some, and I think it's been delivered. So I think Steve's going to try some on the Three Amigos on Friday, which should be interesting. And cutexshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in the northeast in Newcastle and Wallsend. And they also make our t-shirts and merchandise, which you can buy from newcastlelegends.com. If you missed any of the shows and you're out for your walk during lockdown, check out iTunes and Spotify. Just search for NUFC Matters. You will find us on there. Chris, 8 minutes till kick-off. Let's get your prediction first before we start talking Carragher and Neville.
Usually I'm conservative about the score. I'm going to say 3-1 loss. 3-1 Arsenal.
Okay, 3-1 loss. Daz.
Okay, the most positive I can be here is that a draw, probably score draw, 1-1.
1-1. Okay, Rich.
About as positive as what Daz is. I think if we perform possibly like we did last week against them and Arsenal have an off day, we might get away with a draw.
Okay, Chris Hall.
I'm similar to you, Steve. Unfortunately, I don't think the lineups convinced me this evening. So I'm going to say 3 or 4-0. And can I just add as well? I've been mulling this over all day, and I've kind of come to the conclusion like the worst case scenario for me tonight would be if we lost like 1-0. Like, make no mistake. Obviously, I want us to win tonight. I really hope we win tonight, but I don't want to lose 1-0. If we lose, I want it to be 4-5-6 because that forces him quicker towards the door, in my opinion. So if we do go 1-0 down early on, I hope they throw a bucket load in because it just puts more pressure on Bruce.
All right, Pete.
I think we'll get beat. I think it'll be closer than we think. I think it'll be another tight game like it was in the FA Cup. And I can see them winning 2-1, unfortunately. But I partly agree with Chris. I think we can't just keep limping to these results and these defeats because it's going to keep them in a job. There needs to be something. There either needs to be a win to settle everybody down, to get us further up the table, and it could be 10-point gap tonight if we win, or it needs to be if he loses tonight, he goes. We can't be messing around. We've got too many games still left to play where we can really salvage this season. We need these decisions to be made quicker.
Yep. Okay. Over to you, Liam. What's your prediction for tonight?
Like I said, I think it's going to be an interesting one. I can't really see any team getting a win though, so I'm just going to go score draw 1-1.
Score draw from you, Martin.
Yeah, I'll stick with the 1-1. I think similar to Chris, I'm optimistically I'll go with the draw. But if Arsenal score first, then I think it could be a hatful.
Okay, so they've had our predictions, plenty of predictions coming in from everybody watching on the chat. Kevin Smith says 4-1 to us. No, wait a minute, I'll put those rose-tinted glasses away. Paul Davison says, I can't agree with that, Chris. I understand, but we may well be needing goal difference by the end of the season. Derek Stevenson just says win, draw or hammered. Martin says 5-0. Not sure who he means to. I can only presume it's Arsenal. Stu says, I can see this game being the same old boring Bruce ball. Players on the pitch not knowing what they are supposed to be doing. Cathal Sweeney says 2-0. Yeah, not much positivity tonight, but thank you for you all joining and in your numbers and sending in your comments. We're going to talk Carragher and Neville now, and we have complained on NUFC Matters like everybody else has in the fanzines and on other podcasts about the positivity that pundits have been putting out with regards to Steve Bruce and his position. Some are ex-players from Newcastle. Some have never really had anything to do with Newcastle, just get paid for having a comment and an opinion on our great club. But tonight, Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville were talking about Newcastle just after 7 o'clock. And Chris, I thought they actually gave a fairly good assessment of the situation. The only criticism I would have had was they didn't really, compare the finances. Steve Bruce has had a lot more backing, a bit more, of the shackles off, shall we say, with Mike Ashley than Rafa ever did. And I compared it to, trying to make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, which is an old saying up here. And, from my perspective, I just felt that, it was, other than that, it was a fairly good assessment. The media seem to be getting it now, Chris.
Yeah, just when you thought that the Rafa comparisons were done, I can only speculate that, obviously we've heard that Rafa's unhappy in China, and that, of course, he would be the consortium's ideal choice to come back, make a triumphant return with a takeover. But that's to be seen whether that actually materializes. But yeah, I kind of it. But I did kind of think that Neville was kind of being a little bit stereotypical about what Newcastle's expectations are. Kind of dancing on his idea that we want Champions League, and he said like that we expect that we have thrilling football. I don't think that we're expecting to go back to like the entertainers there. I think that we want to put the best squad we can out there and have a club that tries as much as the fans are want to support them through thick and thin.
Yep. Okay, Daz, what did you make of the pundits' pre-match talk as Arsenal take the pitch at the Emirates?
To tell you the truth, Steve, I only saw a small bit of it. So yeah, that Gary Neville, surprise, has no love for Rafa. I really hated Gary Neville as a player, but I don't mind him so much as a pundit. To tell you the truth, it's Jamie Redknapp. I can't stand as a pundit these days, and a few more from other channels. But the two key words I picked out were culturally set and expectation. So yeah, yeah, they were comparing the from the bit I saw about Bruce to Rafa, but yeah, as I mentioned, we have to take the money side of it into the equation here, and I think Carragher was mentioning that Bruce has a better striker to work with. Rafa didn't have the likes of Wilson at the time, so that's the only bit I saw where you say the truth. So I can't really comment in much detail.
Okay, Rich, did you manage to catch the pundits talking beforehand?
Not all of it, but I must admit I do agree with what Jamie Carragher was saying. It's something I've said for a long time. Imagine what Rafa could do with some of the personnel that Bruce has got. To be fair, you don't know with some of the players that are actually in our current squad that Rafa's never been able to get his hands on. Would he be able to make them better players? Probably, because he's a better coach. He's a better man manager as well. He just hands down a million times better than Bruce. So I even think he'd be able to get stuff out of Joe Linton. I think he'd probably be able to get stuff out of Kraft as well. I think you'd see completely different players if you had Rafa in charge compared to Bruce. I just still don't understand to this day how Mike Ashley can not back a world-class manager, but then he can give 60 to 70 million to Steve Bruce. It's just scandalous.
Well, let's just look at the money that was spent. I think it was 110 million net that Bruce got, and here's something which has just been flying around Twitter again from the Rafa Benitez account. Net spend for Rafa compared to Steve Bruce, a net spend of 110 million. So Rafa made a profit, Chris Hull. I mean, that tells you all you need to know, mate, really, in the sense that, Rafa wasn't backed, and that's why I'm so strong on this argument, really, from my perspective. Listening to pundits talk like that, it's still really not getting the point across,
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right, Stephen. Rafa doesn't get the credit that he deserves sometimes, and it does really it irritates myself, and I know it irritates a lot of other fans as well. That Bruce even is in the same breath as Rafa because he shouldn't be. And I think we mentioned on a show a few weeks ago saying, imagine if Rafa had this squad now, we'd be playing a hell of a lot better, and we'd be performing a lot better, and arguably you'd say we'd have more points on the board because Rafa would have us drilled, organised. And we'd actually, as fans, we appreciate we're not world beaters and we haven't got a top 8, top 7, side in the league, but we would certainly be competing more. And against the lower teams, I tell you, we would be performing a hell of a lot better. And that Sheffield United performance and results wouldn't have happened the other day under Rafa. The only thing I'll say to defend Bruce slightly is I do feel sorry for him in the fact that he's linked to Joe Linton. And also, I'll say St. Maximin as well, because I think those deals were done even before, he came into the club, and they were kind of just thrust upon him. But don't get me wrong, he's had a lot more money than Rafa. He's had a lot more flexibility than Rafa. And if Rafa had the opportunities and the chances that Bruce had, imagine where we'd be if he was still here. Nope. Talk about it too much because I must admit I didn't see it. I've got it on record. I'm going to watch it later. I love Monday Night Football. I think it's really, really good show. And it doesn't surprise me that of the first 2 neutral pundits out there who talk a little bit of sense, and I've got a little bit of understanding where we're coming from is is Carragher and Neville. Doesn't surprise me in the slightest because they are very knowledgeable, and they say it how it is.
Yeah, Barry Hogan's just put up the comment there, which I'd just noticed as well, which just came up at Sky. Bruce stats: he's never won a game at Arsenal at home from 17 attempts, Pete, as the game kicks off. That's a good omen. But what did you make of the? What did you make of the tide turning a little bit? I did get somebody tweeting us today to say that on TalkSport that they were criticising Bruce. So it does seem finally that we're having some kind of sensibility coming from the pundits about our current plight and situation with Steve Bruce.
Yeah, we talked about it a while ago. There's a growing sort of audience now that are saying that they're not. Well, basically they're talking against Steve Bruce, and actually realising what the fans have been saying for quite a number of weeks now, that it's not good enough. But the one main thing that I took out of everything that was said with regards to Carragher and Neville, it wasn't about the Rafa and Bruce argument. For me, the main thing was that actually Gary Neville talking about the fact that there's not enough investment in clubs in the Northeast. And he actually was saying that it needs to start happening. And for me, that was the biggest message that could have come out for Newcastle United fans to the Premier League tonight, on their absolute premium sports channel that they invest a hell of a lot of money into. Right, they're saying their biggest pundit saying that we should be investing money into the Northeast, and with the ongoing takeover going on at the moment and the arbitration going on, that for me was the biggest message that had come out tonight. And I was really, really happy that Gary Neville actually was strong enough, because it is about being strong enough. Because there's too many people that are held down and not allowed to say a lot of things about the takeover or about the lack of funding or investment in the Northeast, because it's the reality. We've known it for years. But for someone as high up as Gary Neville on Sky Sports Television saying that live was the biggest thing that could have happened. And for me, they need to be listening to that. And I'm sure Masters and that would have heard that tonight. And I hope they remember that going into this arbitration, that with investment, they need us. They need us. There's already been investment in London. There's already been investment in the in the Northwest, right? It's now time. If they want a Premier League that's even across the country, right, they need to start investing at the top end in the Northeast, and it starts with us.
Yeah,
Here.
Well said. 3 minutes gone. We're not really missing a great deal. Newcastle have been across the halfway line, which is a positive, but nothing of any major developments yet as we come to Liam. The pundits have got it wrong so many times before. Something's changed over the last few weeks, and it looks like the defeat against Sheffield United has finally meant that some of them have got to see sense and have to change tact, Liam.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be honest, Steve. I didn't see the memoir from Gary Neville or Jamie Carragher, but I did see a couple of quotes just about...
Here's one of the quotes. Yeah, this is from Carragher. Most teams just want a bit of hope. And at this moment, Newcastle supporters don't like the owner, they don't like the manager, they don't like the team, so there's nothing they can buy into at the minute. Fair enough.
Yeah, I think you've got to agree. And, in regards to, the games against Sheffield, the FA Cup exit, the League Cup exit, the results do speak for themselves. And, if the fans aren't happy, then they're not happy. And they're clearly not happy about Bruce. They're clearly not happy about the way that the club's being run right now. My opinion on the takeover. I'd love to see it come through, but right now I'm just not sure if it will. But I'm happy that, the criticism is coming the way of the club, but we'll just have to see what happens in the future. So it might help, in possibly seeing Bruce to the door, but for now we'll just have to see. Okay,
cheers, Martin. It's nice to see and refreshing to see pundits, speak about the club in a more balanced fashion. And it's no surprise, I don't think, that it's come from Carragher and Neville. I mean, Carragher has obviously, played with Rafa Benitez as his manager. I know from, my time working with Rafa at Newcastle that, Carragher, on more than one occasion popped down to see Rafa, after games where he was working as a as a pundit. So, the relationship's there. But, the relationship with Bruce is clearly there with Neville. He did come out and say on that interview tonight that he hasn't seen Steve Bruce for 10 years, but I bet he's got his phone number.
I'd say he has. I think the thing with the two lads is like what Pete said. They're well respected. They've a massive audience. They've huge Twitter accounts. They hold their audience because what they talk about is knowledgeable, and they're probably, in my opinion, they're the best two pundits that Sky have by a long shot. And therefore, when they say something to you, and Neville says it's this, or this, you listen to it because the guy is knowledgeable. He was a great pro. He worked his backside off. He's taken on a club like Salford. He's investing his money locally. The guy is genuine. And I think Carragher is exactly the same. They were both exemplary captains. They were leaders on the field, and I think they lead off it as well. So I think, they do hold a captive audience with Sky. And, look, there'll be other fans listening to that going, oh, geez, Newcastle fans moaning again. But when you start to get these guys starting to say it, it holds a bit more sway and it starts to hold some substance. And I think that's what you don't have when you've got people like Chris Sutton, Robbie Savage, and some of these other guys that in particular do things for a wind-up just to get someone on a show or to make a bit of talk or to get a few headlines. So for me, it was refreshing to see. There's definitely been a change in the tide since the Sheffield United game. There are more people starting to be a bit more vocal about Bruce and about the ownership. So I think the lads made, fair arguments on both sides. But I think your point, Steve, is also absolutely right. You cannot compare where the funds have been, what Bruce has done and what Rafa done. It's not comparing apples with apples. So it's not fair in the slightest. So yeah, refreshing to see for me. And I think there needs to be more and more that come out like that as these results, if they don't come, I think we'll put more and more pressure on to certainly Bruce, but I think there'll be more pressure applied from above as well.
Okay, good stuff. We're 7.5 minutes into the game. It's still Arsenal 0, Newcastle 0 as Kraft gets the ball on the right-hand side, crosses it in, but it's a poor cross and Arsenal collect and clear. Chris, opening 7-8 minutes here. What's your take on the game so far?
Looks like a 4-4-2, which is maybe not unexpected, but I don't know that I would have said that's the definition of Bruce taking the gloves off. Maybe he's got more tricks up his sleeve without the gloves. So, I mean, it's attacking football, but mostly from Arsenal. And so we're having to, do on the counterattack and haven't been very successful in getting something going in their side of the field, especially in the final third. I don't know what the thoughts are so far, but if you have any. So jury's still out on Bruce's changes, I'd say.
Okay, Daz, another stat that came up on Sky. We do love these stats. And Mikel Arteta has won his last 9 games as a player and a manager against Arsenal, against Newcastle.
Well, fair play to him. Hopefully we break that run tonight. Just on the game, Steve. Yeah, it's even enough, I suppose. Arsenal are getting a bit of joy down the wings. We've had about 2 crosses that were very, very poor. Didn't find their man. Carroll is putting himself about. So if you can break up play somewhere and get a knock on to the likes of Wilson, we could get some joy from it. But that's really it at the very start. It's to me, it's even enough at the moment.
Well, we're going for the usual percentage classics here. Arsenal have started off with 73%, and Newcastle started off with 27%. Rich, Almiron took a bit of a hit there, but he's back up. Still not playing with a smile on his face, but what's your take on the opening 10 minutes?
Typical Newcastle performance of late, isn't it? I think there's nothing really to shout about. It looks like we're going to be on the back foot. I don't know. It's going to be a long, hard night, unfortunately. But to be fair, I think that's been the same with every single game we've had recently. So, the fingers crossed it changes, but I'm not holding up much at the minute.
Yeah, okay. Chris Hall, we've got Holding playing against us tonight, a player that Newcastle, of course, were chasing at the start of the season, and looked as if we had him until he had to play for Arsenal, and then Arteta made him part of his plans. But going to be an interesting battle between him and Andy Carroll tonight.
Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, the couple of highlights from the last 10 minutes. Andy Carroll's bang up for it, which is really good, and Miggy's up and down. I see Kraft struggling a little bit there. He's put in a couple of dodgy crosses, especially the one that went out for a goal kick. That was disappointing. But yeah, I'm. Do you know what? At the moment, I'm just keeping my eye on John Joe Shelby. He seems to have reverted to form, hasn't he? A lot of huffing and puffing and putting his head down just before he goes for the run, like he's really trying hard, and I'm just not seeing it. And we're 11 minutes in now. 75% Arsenal, 25 Newcastle. So the possession's dropping rapidly, and Shelby's just going to get worse and worse. He really needs to up his effort. I mean, I feel really sorry for Matty tonight. He's going to be running his socks off all game. So not the best start, but still 0-0. So we have hope.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's one way of looking at it. Pete, Chris has made the point. Chris has made the point about Shelby. I mean, this is the problem with Shelby. You get one good game in 10. I know there's the stat we mentioned earlier on the show that we do win more games with him in the team. However, he's such a liability, and as we'll see guaranteed over the next half an hour. Not only is the pace not there now, but he'll start dropping. He'll start dropping off and start getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and start sitting on top of that back four.
Well, this is what the manager gets paid for, because that I still go back to that the show that you had with Steve Howie and Clark, and within that 2 minutes, Lee Clark had already spotted what the issue was with John Joe Shelby and the fact that he sits on his defence. When he's got possession, can create things. Right, he can make things happen, but there's no point in doing it sitting on top of the centre backs. He needs to be doing it further up the pitch where he can influence the game. Now that's the manager and the coaches that need to change that. Now we all know he hasn't got the legs. He hasn't had the legs for the last 6 years. That's no different. So if you want to keep him in the team, you've got to have players around him to be able to give him that license to get forward. I have to say, I don't think it's been too bad, if I'm honest, at the start of the game. The one thing that I've liked, actually, about the performance so far is when we've got the ball high up, we're throwing men forward. So we're actually looking to get men further forward in attacking positions. And it's as simple as that. You look at our previous games, we just haven't had it. And Wilson already looks like he's got support with Carroll. And Almiron, when he's getting the ball, he's looking to be direct and getting forward. Okay, the final ball or the cross or the pass isn't getting there, but we haven't had that anyway. That's always been the key thing for us. But I like the fact that we've got that attacking intent to actually look to go forward and attack Arsenal, because the more that we attack, the more likely we're going to push them back. Long may that continue. But yeah, you're right. With the midfield, it is going to start to tire as the game goes on, Shelby. I don't see him playing 90 minutes, if I'm honest. And that's maybe where the thinking is in bringing someone like Hayden on that's got a little bit of legs later on in the game. Who knows?
65 minutes, Pete. A little bit later in the game.
Yeah, well, if we're still in the game, but I think that's probably the thinking. You're going to need some legs later on in the game if we're still in it, in with the chance. So, if it works, it works.
Yeah, we're 15 minutes into the game. Arsenal pressing again, and Saka across the box. They've hit the post. Arsenal have hit the post. That was a wonderful run by Saka. Just completely danced past Newcastle's rear guard, struck the ball across the box, and whoever it was ghosting in at the back post, I missed it, hit the post. And dear me, how Darlow completely missed the ball. It was Aubameyang at the back post, ghosted in at the back post, and we're just watching it back here again. Saka, lovely ball. It was a save off off Darlow's foot, which then fell to Aubameyang. And did the ball hit the bar or the post? Hit the far post and bounced back out. So got out of jail, Newcastle United there, but then the ball was cleared back towards Darlow. Darlow then miskicked it. And I'm not sure, has the ball gone out for a corner?
Yeah.
Corner, yeah.
Ball's gone out for a corner. We'll stay with this. Saka's taking the corner on the opposite side now. Saka with a corner. It's a poor corner. Doesn't even beat the first man. Newcastle clear. Liam, it's the statistics which some people like and some people don't like. We're talking Shelvey. Barry Hogan's put Shelvey's got an amazing ability when Arsenal are attacking to keep at least 12 feet away from any other player. He said not many can do that. Local Hero says the great Madonna song for us, Deeper and Deeper. And Barry Hogan says Shelvey is social distancing. So yeah, there's the Shelvey fan club's out in force tonight, Liam. But yeah, it's not a horrendous start, but it's just typical Newcastle. Like Rich said, we're not getting the possession. We're sitting back. We're getting slightly forward, at times, but it's just a typical Newcastle performance at the moment.
Yeah, it is, and I'm about a minute behind you guys, so I'm sort of anticipating everything that's going on. And I've got to say, what a fantastic save from Darla just to stick his leg out. But Aubameyang should be scoring that, and we've been let off, I think, once again, like we've seen in other games. On Shelvey, yes, without a doubt, I think he's been very lazy. I think so far we're only 15 minutes in. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him subbed off later on in the game, but just no real sort of intent, no sort of effort to press anyone who's on the ball, even when he's really, really close. And like I said before, I think he's only on just to ping some balls up to Carolyn Wilson. But 15 minutes in, apart from that one big chance, we'll just have to see what happens. I think that's Callum Wilson's just maybe tried to go for a scorpion kick from about 30 yards out. But no, not a horrendous start, but still something that will leave you on the edge of your seat, I think.
Yeah, that's a good analysis. Martin, what's your take on the opening 17 minutes? The midfield combo is what was going to worry us, I think. Shelvey alongside Matty Longstaff. And I think probably Matty Longstaff's already covered more ground in this opening 17 minutes than Sean Longstaff did in about 3 games.
Yeah, don't worry. That's just my wife demolishing the kitchen behind me, if you're wondering what that noise is.
As long as you're not getting hit with a rolling pin or a pan.
No,
mate,
not yet. That could well come, though. Yeah, look, I was just gonna go. Meh. Yeah, it's been all right, but it's. I think the fear at the minute, like if you watch again, as we pointed out, the left hand side to our right from Arsenal, the couple of times we have got bodies down the pitch, we have actually been caught out, and there was a point there when defensively we were running back, and all we had was Carroll and Lascelles. So we're getting pulled out of position by trying to throw players up there, which is worrying. But I think that midfield, Shelvey will, with what he's doing, he's going to make Matty pull out of position, which is going to give the likes of Xhaka and Party room in that midfield to have a bit more of a free license. And then, as I said, I've kind of watched the last 5-10 minutes. I've been watching Roe Smith again, and he's getting a lot of freedom just to duck in between the 2 sets of lines. He played the ball that went into Saka there for their attempted goal, where Aubameyang hit the post. So we could very easily get caught out if we're not clever enough. And I think just with Shelvey doing what he does, there is chance that Matty will get pulled out of position and we'll start to lose control of that middle, because effectively Xhaka can push up, Party can pull up a bit, and you're really down to 2 in midfield versus an Arsenal 3 or an Arsenal 4 at some points. So I think we just that's the biggest concern. And then Saka and Tierney down that left up against Kraft, because Almiron is bombing forward and Kraft is getting caught out at points.
We're quite lucky in the sense that Saka might be good at crossing the ball in, but he seems to be pretty poor at corners at this moment in time. So as long as that continues, we might be all right, as Arsenal had another corner just about a minute to go. And they tried a short one this time, and again, it was badly worked, and Shelvey intercepted and cleared the ball. But Arsenal camped in Newcastle's half. A lot of defending to go, and only 20 minutes played. They've got 70 minutes of this Newcastle. I can't see them holding out, if I'm perfectly honest. Chris, back to you. Let's talk about Mark Hughes. Barry's asking, what do we think of Mark Hughes' comments that he's got several offers on the table? Now, I tried to turn this into a positive when I was out for my walk today, because as most of you know, I always bump into Newcastle fans who want to stop and have a bit crack when I'm walking around Newcastle's quayside. And I did flip it today, because normally everyone's going, Mark Hughes, oh no, you don't want Mark Hughes, useless manager, blah, blah, blah. But anybody remember when Man City got taken over? Who was the manager at Man City?
Mark Hughes was, and Mancini replaced him.
There you go. Now that's got to be a good omen, lads. If we get Mark Hughes in instead of Steve Bruce, that's just all going to fit the remit, isn't it? Get Hughes in, I say. Chris, what do you say?
That's the only positive spin I could put on it.
The straws and clutching there, Mr. Ray.
I sort of saw that name and I was like, am I back in the U.S. watching the Friday night Premier League show that started in 1993? With the names like Mark Hughes. Just it's just crazy. We talked a while ago about Newcastle. What they need is like a young, dynamic coach to come in, and obviously we're looking at Arteta as maybe our first choice when Rafa left, but I don't think he even got it. Give us a Smith. Not a big miss there. I'm not the biggest Arteta fan, but it's just stupid that there should be young up and coming talent from the managers position, but like a lot of the American sports, it's just the same old names just recycled through, and there's hardly ever a chance for the young assistants to get a new job or anyone to kind of bring fresh blood, young blood into the game. It's just the same old name recycled for another manager going to another squad.
A lot of people want to know what Steve Bruce actually does on the sideline, but when we're doing Matchday Live, he obviously messages into the show. So welcome to Steve as usual. He says, "Lol, Mark Hughes is no better. He bleeds Man United, bleeds for Man United as much as me." So classic. Daz, Mark Hughes, would he float your boat as an interim manager?
God, no. He's another dinosaur of the same year as Brucey Boy. But no, I never liked Mark Hughes either. I'd actually stick with Bruce over Hughes, and that's saying a lot.
Wow.
So no, why bother? Well, there's be no point in changing Bruce then if that's the case. So definitely rule that out. I'd rather anyone apart from JFK. Geez, would I even give Carver another go instead of Mark Hughes? So that's a definite no from me.
It's a no from you. Newcastle on the attack. We'll stay with this. It's a shot on goal just over the bar from Miggy Almiron after a ball in from Andy Carroll. And I'm not sure whether the goalkeeper got a hand to that, but it was a break from the edge of Newcastle's box. Almiron took it past two players, jinxed inside, and he put the ball across to Andy Carroll. Andy Carroll then took one touch, took two touch, passed it back to Almiron, took another touch and put it over the bar. So yeah, goal kick to Arsenal. But a positive, Rich, a positive. We're getting, we've got a little bit forward. There's a little bit of positivity.
Yeah, but last five minutes or so, we've been getting a bit further up the pitch. I think since Aubameyang hit the post, it was good to see Miggy actually. He beat the fullback pretty well, then got forward, used his pace really well, which is something we haven't seen a lot from in recent times. Dallas just cleared. So yeah, there is a few positive signs. It's a shame when Miggy put the ball through Andy Carroll. Andy Carroll got the ball stuck between his feet. If he gets it out of his feet, you could see he was just trying to line up one of those pile drivers he has with his left foot, but obviously got caught beneath his feet, unfortunately. But it's starting to get a bit more positive. That's at least that's better the last 10 minutes or so than it was when it was after the first 10 minutes.
Okay, Chris Hall, back to you. The one thing that Steve Bruce, just following on from what Rich said there, that one thing Steve Bruce seems to be pushing is the fact that we did well against, Arsenal in the Cup, we did well against Liverpool, we did well against Leicester, but we didn't get results, and like it's all very well playing well and doing well, but we didn't really get results, and Arsenal just go close again there. Wow, still 0-0, 25 minutes gone. Let's touch on Mark Hughes though as well. I'm presuming you're the same as the rest of the lads. You don't want to see Mark Hughes take the job, do you?
No, I don't. I am a bit on the fence, so I don't know whether. Don't get me wrong. If you give me a split choice between the two of them and say neither of them had the job, I'd probably pick Bruce. But the fact that Bruce is here and nothing's working, maybe a new voice. Don't get me wrong, I don't want anyone to think I want Mark Hughes because I don't. But I probably, just for that freshness, and he is horrible, isn't he? Like I think he's one of them who, look what I've done, look what I can do, and he's got that. I think he's a dominant presence in the dressing room, and he might spark a reaction out of some players. I don't think he's the answer, but if you had to give me a choice between the two right now, I'd probably say Hughes purely because it's new and it's a different voice, someone else in the ear. And let's be honest, he can't be any worse than Bruce. I wouldn't have thought. Going back to what you said, Steve, it made me laugh. Do you remember when Mark Hughes? So he was manager of Man City, wasn't he? And then the takeover got announced, and then the new owners were like, "Here's Fabinho," and Mark Hughes was just like, "Wow, I've got Fabinho." And then literally not long after, they were like, "Right, try Mark. That's you done." But yeah, that was a hell of an announcement, that wasn't it? The new owners, and then Fabinho comes in. Even though I don't think he knew he was signing for Man City, because I'm sure he thought he was signing for Man United, didn't he?
He thought it was a drink. Arsenal went close again there. Smith Rowe, to be honest, is certainly doing the damage, I think, for Arsenal at the moment. They're giving them the ball quite a lot. He's streaming down Newcastle's flank, and he's given Newcastle's back four a bit of a torrid time. The only thing that really is saving Newcastle at the moment is Arsenal still not capable of putting the ball in the back of net as well as they were last season. Aubameyang still struggling, but attempts on goal, Arsenal 5, Newcastle 1. Pete, the gloves are off. Would Mark Hughes as Newcastle United be something you would want? Moving on.
No. Look, I've never rated him as a manager. I have to be honest. Even going back from when he was in Wales' job, he's just not done a good job wherever he's been, and he's always been sacked wherever he's been, which I think says everything we need to know. For me, no. The one thing that always sticks out in my mind, if anyone's ever read Joey Barton's book, he talks in detail about his relationship with Mark Hughes and him as a manager at QPR, and that for me, in that chapter alone, puts me off Mark Hughes ever managing our club, because he just sounds absolutely atrocious. So if you haven't read Joey Barton's book, I would, because it's a fantastic read just for that chapter alone. No, there are other managers out there that are unattached to a club that are better than him. It's that simple. We've talked about it before. You've got Nigel Pearson and Eddie Howe as a starting point. There's those two that would both take the job. No doubt will come to the club and are both streets ahead of Mark Hughes as a manager overall. So definitely not. But I just wanted to add, just from this point of view, yes, we've conceded a lot of possession. Yes, we've conceded a lot of chances. But the one thing that I'm actually liking is that we're throwing men forward when we get the ball. I like the fact that we're throwing men forward. It's costing us at times because Kraft is getting too far forward and not able to get back. But I like the fact that we're being direct and that we're looking to get men in and around the box, because we've not had that before. And I like the seeing. Is it going to happen 9 minutes? Probably not. Are we going to concede? Maybe. But I like the fact that we're actually going for it. So a little positive spin on that there. I'm just liking what I'm seeing from that point of view.
Yep, we're just getting the breaking news that BN has now officially been restored back into Saudi. So another tick in the box for Newcastle United's takeover, I think. There, Liam, you might be a bit more less sceptical. It's those little boxes are getting ticked. So
Of course, you'd come to me as soon as
All
that
we'll
gets
say
out.
is all the other Liams believe it's going to happen. That's all we're saying.
join the cult, Liam. Join the
I
cult.
need to put my
Follow
kid
us.
back on that
Follow
thing.
us.
You know, like I said, maybe it will happen, maybe it won't. I said to Steve a couple of days ago, I think I've got to have to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are little things that are dropping into place, but for now, like I said, I've got to see it to believe it. In regards to Mark Hughes, you know, just like Pete did, just laughed that off straight away. not a chance. Not a chance I would want Mark Hughes managing Newcastle United. He was terrible at Southampton. He was terrible at Man City, even with the takeover. I mean, where else was he? Stoke? Was he at Stoke at one point as well?
Blackburn.
Yeah.
as well, yeah.
Blackburn.
You know, just, I mean, it's between pick and hand. I don't know, two horrible things between Bruce and Mark Hughes. But, you know, like Pete said, we've got a couple of options who aren't attached to clubs. You know, Eddie Howe, Nigel Pearson, you know, another one, Slavan Bilic, I think would be a fantastic manager, actually. You know, he did really well at West Ham with some investment as well. If he got the investment, I think he would be good enough to get us into the top 10. But I think for now, we're probably going to be stuck with Bruce for a little bit, just depending on how this game goes.
Yep, till the takeover's done. Martin, on to you, mate. Mark Hughes, just finishing off the panel's views on Mark Hughes. Would you take Mark Hughes, over Steve Bruce under current circumstances?
Do you know what? I was just sitting here thinking it's a bit like choosing would you rather have crabs or chlamydia? Do you know what I mean? It's like they're both as bad and you don't want to tell anyone about them. So maybe no. I think for me, if it's a short, it's one of those things. I think we made a really good point on the show, on the Worldwide show. The problem is because the takeover is hanging there, and I think Pete, it was you that made this point, is who's going to sign up and want to take it short term? Because you are probably going to have the Mark Hughes syndrome, which is, you know, if the takeover happens, as Liam has predicted tonight on the show, then, you know, that manager's likely going to be let go. So what are your options? For me, the only one that stood out for me that I said could come in, stabilize the ship, maybe keep us where we need to be, for me, was Nigel Pearson. And he's the only one that still, for me, is a name that's out there. I don't think Eddie Howe will sign up to it. So for me, I don't want to go back to Hughes. I think him and Bruce are like for like near enough. So I don't see the point of just, will it freshen up the dressing room for a while? You know, I'd rather not have Bruce. I'd rather have Clarkey in for a while. You know, with a bit of passion, him and a couple of ex-pros to steady the ship. I think you'd get more out of that. So for me, absolutely, Mark Hughes, no way. Pearson on a short-term deal, absolutely. Been at the club before, probably will work for Ashley. And I think, we said on the shows, I actually rate him because I think the team that Brendan Rodgers has got now at Leicester, I think a lot of the groundwork went in from Nigel Pearson on that, barring a few signings. I think he did a really good job there. So for me, he would be my only way forward at the moment.
Okay, 33 minutes gone. Arsenal 0, Newcastle 0. It does feel like a bit of a deja vu, this. It feels like the FA Cup game, really, to me. It's, it almost feels like we're getting tortured to the point where we think we're going to get something out of it and then we'll get hit by the sucker punch. I hope I'm wrong, but at the moment, Newcastle managing to keep it at 0, although Arsenal are pressing again. And Aubameyang, who, as I said, certainly hasn't looked the player that he was last season, has gone down far too easily there, and the referee didn't even entertain it. In fact, why wasn't booked? Because he certainly tried to throw himself on the ground there. It was rather embarrassing, but goal kick to Newcastle and still 0-0. Lots of people asking in the chat, and you know I tend to go with what people ask in the chat, Chris. Andy Carroll, would you even bother giving him another year? I mean, I personally wouldn't. If it was to put the nets up, yes. Or, hang the strips in the dressing room, I genuinely couldn't see Andy Carroll staying, and surely to God this takeover goes through. We're not even going to have to worry about things like that. But let's say the worst happens and the takeover doesn't go through. Would you give Andy Carroll a new contract, Chris?
First, I want to say, Steve, you said in the lines of the gloves are off, and then you said a sucker punch. And I might say, is this an example of rope-a-dope? So we'll see. We'll see. Andy Carroll, I'm always a big fan of his, but I think we all expected that a takeover was going to happen this year, so he wouldn't be in the plan for them. I don't think I'll be bringing him back. I mean, he's got his one goal, his first goal for Newcastle in 10 years this season, but he just doesn't have what it takes to be, take up one of those squad positions. No, so I think this is Andy Carroll. Sad to say, his swan song with the club, and probably at least in the Premier League, and probably professionally.
Yeah, okay. Andy Carroll does. Will you be, wanting the club to offer Andy a new contract?
No, we did a show on this back in probably late November, early December, in UFC Matters. We went through all the players, and at the time I said no to Andy Carroll. But since then, all credit to him, and he's this season he's stayed fit. He was clear from injuries, and he's upped his game in the last number of games. So other clubs should definitely look at him. Wasn't West Brom looking at him there recently as well, but. I think you may even consider going somewhere like MLS or something like that. But no, not for Newcastle next season. Even if, God forbid, there was no takeover, and even if we did, God forbid again, got relegated, I still don't want him because he lacks the pace. He's good at for the last few minutes, even though he's playing from the start here, but and he's winning the ball in the air there again. He's upped his game. Maybe he knows it himself that he's not going to get a contract with us next year, and he's got to put himself in the shop window. Hopefully he can stay fit and he'll get a few more goals maybe for us this season.
Yeah, I doubt it, but that's your opinion. Barry Hogan's asking if the rattle's all right. It is there, mate. It's ready for a goal. Unfortunately, it hasn't been used for the last few games. Rich, Andy Carroll, would you give him a new contract?
I'd probably have to agree with the lads. I said I wouldn't. The only issue I've got is obviously Gale's contract's up at the end of the season. Carroll's up. That would only really leave us with one centre forward, with a recognised centre forward at the club. Obviously, some people might class Joel Linton as a centre forward. Obviously, I don't. So we would only have Wilson technically up front, and depending on where we are regarding the takeover, fingers crossed we're in a position where it's gone through, and strengthening up in that department isn't going to be an issue. However, if the takeover doesn't go through, and depending on what division we're in, it's a big conundrum we're going to have, because it's who's going to come to Newcastle the way we're playing. Possibly some championship strikers who have done well in their division. You might look at someone like Josh King if they don't get promoted. Obviously, I know we're looking at them now. You might get Adam Armstrong coming back or something like that, or possibly Tony. But I don't think I'd give Carroll, even if it was just a pay-as-you-go, like contract, sort of like pay-as-you-play sort of contract. Like, yes, I agree with what Dan said. He has been better the last few games, but obviously he stayed fit. But he hasn't put the ball in the back of net enough for what we need for a centre forward. So, unfortunately, yes, I know the romantic, and probably a lot of us would love to see him get a new contract and play out of his skin and put the ball in the back of the net. However, I think it's one of these now where we need to move on from him.
Okay, Chris Hall, your views. Andy Carroll, would you give him a new contract? I know what you're going to say, I think.
I know you know what's coming, don't you? No, I've got to say, as you know, I think you all know, I've got a soft spot for Andy Carroll, and I do firmly believe that he has got something still to give. The reason I feel that way is because I think he gives something that not many other strikers in the Premier League give. Don't get me wrong, if there's a takeover, or when there's a takeover, I'm going to be positive. When there's a takeover, I wouldn't give him a new contract. But worst case scenario, if we don't get taken over, I still think on a pay as you play deal, it's limited risk for me, and having him in and around the squad, I don't think it's such a bad thing. I really don't. He changes games, as we saw against Arsenal the other day. Okay, we're not really seeing it now, but little 10, 15, 20-minute cameos I've got no problem with. And sometimes you need that bite and you need that aggression and the passion. And he's just awkward to play against. He's one of those players, Steve. Nobody likes playing against Andy Carroll. He's awkward. And I mean, look at the Tottenham game, for example. He won us that penalty in the last minute. He's 6'4", jumping in the air, causing problems. Defenders don't like him. With a takeover, I'd still give him a contract. I'd probably give him a coaching contract. I'd get him behind the scenes, but I wouldn't give him a playing contract now. And but let's hope this takeover happens. And if he's got a place at the club after his playing career, that'd be great. But I agree with what one of the lads said then. I think he'll end up going to the MLS, or he might go and join Stephen Taylor. Is he in the Australian League or something, living it up? I think he'll probably do that.
Okay, interesting points, Pete. Andy Carroll, he can't get a new contract, surely to God.
No, in reality, you're not going to give him another contract. You just wouldn't. However, for me, him and Almiron have been our two best players this half. He showed leadership. Just before I came on the last time, he made an absolutely fantastic recovery move, and now Aubameyang had a chance to put it over the bar. The ground that he covered to get back just showed his determination for the team. And that's what we've been lacking. We've been lacking that presence and that leadership. And you just think to yourself, if he'd have had that and he'd have stayed away from injuries and have shown that game in, game out, you kind of start to wonder what if we did that. But he's had too many injuries. He's been too stop-start. You just couldn't possibly justify giving him another contract because, look, we need to be moving. If takeover doesn't happen, we need to stop moving the squad on. And players like Shelby and one or two others that have been here a little bit too long. Carroll's probably outstayed his welcome because he was looking to get another contract in the summer. These guys need to move on for younger, fresher, hungrier players to come in to really give something to the squad. So, it's in one sense it's a shame because we've seen in the last two games against Arsenal that he's really sort of determined to put a shift in for the team, but there's too much really happened to justify it.
Okay, Liam, Andy Carroll fan?
I am actually an Andy Carroll fan. I'd like to think that he is actually quite a presence in the dressing room. There's reports that Bruce has lost the dressing room, and I'd love to think that Andy Carroll might be the person that's the gel that's keeping them together. I think when he plays, he does always give 110%. I think especially in the game against Leicester, even when we were losing, he was someone that really stood out. And obviously he got his goal. It's his first goal in, how many years for Newcastle? And how many years in the Premier League in total? I would give him a new contract. I think it also depends on, how many other forwards stay at the club at the end of the season. Are we going to offload Joe Linton? Are we going to offload the likes of Dwight Gale as well? Because he's not been here at all today. He's not even on the bench or anything, is he? So, I think it depends on that as well. But I think for now, I would like to see him stay, and I probably would give him another contract, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Darlow, the ball was going wide. He wasn't a nose. A deflection puts the ball behind for another Arsenal corner. Another stat came up there. Goals from corners this season. Newcastle 1. So, again, every time we get a corner, it's probably not worth getting excited. Saka, he's getting that many corners in this game. One of them's got to be a decent one. We'll stay with this again. His arms in the air as he crosses the ball in. Beats the first man this time. And it's another header this time from Luiz goes over the bar. So Arsenal not at the races, it has to be said, Martin. Andy Carroll, would you offer him a new contract?
No.
No, I didn't think you would.
Do you know what? And I know we've had this chat about Carroll loads of times, and you know it was a bit of a project bringing him back and whatever else. The one thing I will say is he cares. He does give a shit, and he does care, and he does get the club, and he does care about pulling on a black and white shirt and trying to do the best that he can. Obviously, Gale seems to be on his way, not even on the bench. So, look, we've got to say that's a foregone conclusion. Is there something in the offing with him going to Bournemouth and a swap with Josh King? I doubt it. That's flashing around on Twitter there tonight, and I've seen the questions coming up there. Apparently, he's looking for 120 grand a week. So, you know, look, mental money, he's not going to get that from us, unless Joe Linton takes a pay cut. But Andy Carroll, I get he cares, but at the minute, the problem we have pre-takeover is we actually need him. And as much as I know Chris really likes him, I don't. For me, definitely not a contract, but at the minute, as a club where we are currently, we need him, unfortunately. And he does offer. I mean, you know, I'm looking at Joe Linton tonight. He's given us absolutely nothing down that left. Get Richie on, switch Almer onto the left, get Murphy on the right, get some ball in. We might stand a chance. But yeah, Carroll, great ambassador, was great 10 years ago. I'll give him all my thanks for the promotion season. But next season, absolutely not. No way.
Half time at the Emirates, Arsenal 0, Newcastle 0 in the Premier League. This game going pretty much the same way as the FA Cup game did, to be honest. Arsenal failing to convert their chances and take anything from the possession. So Newcastle, as it stands, are still in this game, and interesting first half. So let's just look back at the first half with you, Daz. Chris has gone for a sabbatical, so we'll come to you. What's your take on that first half? Happy, sad, indifferent?
No, I'm happy because we're not losing. We put up with 45 minutes and we're still in the game. I'd look at getting rid of Joe Linton, as in taking him off and bringing on the likes of Richie to try and cross the ball in and give us a bit of passion as well. And I'd be looking to try and bring in Anderson at some stage as well as an attacking threat, and just to mix it up maybe with make it taken off Almiron. But Almiron, he's putting a few tackles in and stuff. Like he's winning the ball back. Carroll, I think, has been our best player. All the talk we've done about him there. Now he's winning the headers. He's winning bringing the ball down. He's doing well. Arsenal, they're desperate at shooting. I don't know what happened to Aubameyang. He used to be absolutely class. He's the same thing that happened to him as happened to our ASM. But ASM, he hasn't got as much of a chance because of the injuries and the COVID and blah blah blah. But Aubameyang, he's playing every week and he's desperate. But we noticed that we keep at the first quarter, let's say, we just kept giving the ball back to Arsenal. But the most positive thing I've heard is your comment about BN, and I think Aloid knows something. That's why he's not here tonight.
Possibly, could be doing the deal as we speak, Al-Walid. Yes, no excuses. Be interesting to see what he makes of it on his Twitter timeline. Rich, it is pretty much the same as that FA Cup game, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just actually going to say that. It's we've had more chances in the two games that we've had against Arsenal and been more positive than we have in a lot of the games this season. It's obviously the main positive is we haven't conceded. We're still in the game. I think I agree with what's been mentioned so far, that Joe Linton's offered nothing down that left-hand side, either going forward or helping back Lewis. I think if you look back at the Aubameyang chance, Lewis was tracking that. I think one of whoever it was, and Joe Linton was nowhere to be seen tracking back the other person to allow the cross to come in. The shot from Saka, which deflected towards Aubameyang. So I would possibly switch Almiron over to the left, bring Richie on. I'd actually play Richie on the right, because I think I've mentioned this in the previous show before. When he first came to the club, when we were in the Championship, he was a right midfielder. He's both footed anyway. So perhaps have a bit of balance on that. But obviously, I think that leadership that he brings as well. He's a bit like Carroll, he'll get under your skin sort of thing. give some people, other lads, a kick up the arse sort of thing as well. And he can put a decent ball in. One of the things that I noticed again when we got that one corner, once again we couldn't clear the first man, which we seem to do every single time we have a corner, which is probably why we've only scored from one corner all season, because we can't put a ball in the box. But I think that's the only change I would make. So at half time, the rest of the lads are hanging in there, they're battling away, which is all we can expect. We keep saying week after week, effort has to be a minimum. They're doing that so far. We're in the game. Fingers crossed, maybe it'll nick something in the second half.
Local Hero 1 on Twitter is saying, he'd like to hear my thoughts on what has just been announced widely on the internet and social media, that Saudi Arabia has unblocked Qatar's BN Sports Network. Seems to be mixed messages coming out, but the Doha News is the one that I've posted on Twitter. It's well worth having a look at. The dohanews.co.uk basically spells it all out there in English. And look, it's joining the dots. That's what Liam calls it. That's what we've gone with throughout our coverage of the takeover. I believe the takeover will go through. I've said that for long enough now. Certainly not giving anyone false hope. I still believe that there is ramifications and things which need to be sorted out. But look, the Premier League, will await PIF's mood with interest. I think that will be, the next port of call once, they are guaranteed that things aren't stepping in their way. PIF, don't want to be embarrassed, and I would imagine they will come back to the table and, do what they need to do in due course. When will it be? Who knows? Will it be next week? Will it be next month? Who knows? We've had to wait this long. Surely another few weeks, months isn't going to make any difference. It's certainly not going to make any difference to this transfer window, and it's not going to make any difference to this season. We've just got to hope that Newcastle United's team can stay up and stay in the Premier League, and that the deal can be done, and we can, all move on with smiles on our faces. But as usual, the usual suspects who you would expect to be negative about this are being negative on social media, and the ones who are going to be positive about it are being positive. And you all know which foot I have my camp in. So you're not going to expect me to be negative about this when I've been 100% all the way through. I still think it's going to go through. When will it go through? Who knows? Hope that answers your question, Local Hero 1, and glad that you're enjoying the show. Chris, come to you now, mate. What was your views on that first half?
I think you're absolutely spot on, Steve. It's just a carbon copy of the cup game. So we're very much in it. Lucky to not be behind. Obviously, Aubameyang had that really big chance that went off the post. So, really, really fortunate that we're still in it. And Arsenal haven't really been at it, as they haven't been all season. In terms of changes for the second half, I've just been having a look and having a think. And for me, I think, as the lads have already said, I'd love to see Jacob Murphy coming on. I think we need more balls in the box. And I'd also like to see Elliot Anderson replacing Shelby. And again, probably the 65, 70-minute sub, as we always get. Them legs in the middle of the park could make all the difference. I hope he doesn't bring Jeff Hendrick on. So for me, it has to be Elliot Anderson coming on. But maybe at half time, I'd hook Joe. I think Joe's having a torrid time out there. He's not giving anything. And we need a bit of drive, bit of determination. Some balls coming in. Having Richie on the left, that would be a real positive. But second half, let's see what we do. Let's see what we can bring to the table. Hopefully, Bruce, is gonna have a few words at half time and renewed optimism coming into the second half.
Okay, Pete, take on the first half, please.
I think we've been all right. Look, I always look at previous years. You can go back to the 90s. We never travelled well to Arsenal. Even when we used to Highbury, we used to get hammered there. So the fact that we're still in the game at half time in a Premier League match is positive at Arsenal, no matter what team they've got out, because they've got better players than us. And we're going to concede possession. We tend to away from home. And we're going to concede chances because, as I've said, they've got better players. But what I like about the performance is that we're willing to get men forward. This is the thing that we've been missing. And this is the frustration, because we did it against Arsenal in the FA Cup. And we said, right, if we can do this against the teams in and around us, we will get chances and we will score goals. And this is the frustration for me, is that we didn't do this on Monday. We do this on Monday, last Tuesday, against Sheffield United. I think we win the game. And that's the difference, is that our mentality is different to each team that we play against. And that's the biggest problem. But I think we've been okay. I think there were two problem positions for us. And Chris has touched on one already. Joe Linton's one on the left-hand side. I don't think he's had a bad game. I just don't think he's done anything. He just doesn't have any impact on the game. If you look on the opposite side, Almiron is working his socks off. He's been an absolute menace for 45 minutes. He has pricked and probed them going forward. He's tested them. He's made them go backwards. He's kept Tierney further back in defence than I've seen Tierney before, because he's giving Tierney a problem. We haven't got that on the left-hand side. I think someone like Jacob Murphy coming on that left-hand side with his ability to cut inside on the left-hand side and maybe have a shot could be a game changer, providing that the game goes in the same flow. So that would be a change for me. The other thing is the right back. Kraft will get found out eventually. I think he's made a lot of last-ditch challenges that have sort of got him out the shit. But there's only so long that can go on for. They've got pace down that left hand or down their left hand side or right. So someone like Yedlin coming on with a little bit of pace, maybe or whichever, would I think shore that up a little bit better, and we'd be a little bit more defensively solid. But with the likes of Yedlin, with his pace getting up and down, he can do that. So that'd be my two changes. I think everyone else has done okay. On the ball, we're ticking it over. We're making it difficult. We're getting it forward. I think Lewis had a little bit of a shaky start, but I think he settled into the game okay. There's obviously a lot of question marks about him. Carroll has been brilliant for me, winning headers. His little takedown just before the half-time whistle was spot on, and it's just typical Carroll. He oozes that confidence when the ball's up in the air. I don't think we're playing enough high balls as it is, and we need players on that can do that. And we need to play to our strengths, get it in and around Carroll, get Wilson in and around Carroll, get the flick on to the knockdowns, and we'll get chances. We will get chances against this Arsenal team in that defence. So, look, I'm okay with it.
Okay, big shout out to your fan Photo, who's become a YouTube member. If you want to do that, that's just easy. Just click join, and from our perspective, if you just want to help out by liking the video, just click the thumb. Please subscribe to the channel. It's great to have as many subscribers as we can. We added another 300 subscribers last week, which was fantastic. And big thank you to everybody who subscribes. And click share. That just takes you to your Twitter, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, whatever social media accounts you've got. If you share the link, it's good for us. It just helps us build this wonderful NUFC Matters community. So please do that, and thanks to everybody who has. Liam, just give us your rundown now, please, on that first half.
One word, Steve, yawn. I was quite bored during that half, just like with a lot of Newcastle games. It's not the best football. We already know that for a fact. You do tend to fall asleep when you're playing, but I mean, the main positive is that we're not losing. It is still 0-0. The game is still quite an open book. 45 minutes left. It's going to be very interesting, I think. Joe Linton, I think, has been an absolute ghost. Same with Shelby. Maybe one good long ball, which obviously didn't lead to anything in the first half. But other than that, that's really it. I'd maybe look towards the end of the second half to bring on Jacob Murphy for Miguel Almiron. Almiron, he provides a good burst of pace at the start of the game, but I think recently he's just been dropping off a little bit. I think Jacob Murphy as an impact sub is fantastic. But it's going to be a very interesting 45 minutes, I think. But I'd like to see the ball sort of come to Callum Wilson's feet a bit more as well, and just maybe to see if he can feed some of the wingers through. But for now, another very interesting 45 minutes going our way.
Okay, good stuff. Barry Hogan says, first half, Rich needs to come. Chris A looks worried. Martin always studies the game. Daz is full of industry and always positive. Pete shouting attack, attack. Captain Wraith shouting it'll get better. So thanks for that, Barry. Martin, over to you, mate, just for your assessment as the teams are starting to come out for the second half. And I do know that you and Daz want to make an announcement. So if you can just give us your brief assessment of that first half.
Yeah, I kind of like Pete. I think it's been okay. And then I take Liam's point as well. There's been a bit where I've kind of been on the phone or I've been looking at something else. So it's kind of one of those. It's not really grabbing you fully, but, you know, you're kind of going, well, you know, on a positive for me, it's not as bad as we were against Sheffield United. On the negative, it's not loads better than we wanted it to be. Tactical changes. I'd like to see either Murphy or Richie on. Joe Linton hasn't really offered anything. So get somebody on that left, maybe Richie. He can whip a ball in, play to Carroll's strength. And I think, as the guys have said, we probably stand a chance.
Okay, good stuff. So, Daz, Martin, I'm going to hand over to you briefly, just so you can make a little bit of an announcement. I don't know who's going to go first, but I'll leave it to you.
We're getting married. No, that's not.
What?
Go on, Daz. Go on, Daz.
Yeah, so we have been working on this for a while. We have a new show coming. It's launching this Wednesday at 9 o'clock on the NUFC Matters channel. So it's going to be a general football chat kind of show. We've split it up into different sections. A bit of comedy as well, maybe thrown in, and we're going to make it interactive. It's going to be the solution to the problems that 2021 has to offer. So keep an eye out. It's going to be myself, Martin, and Chris Hall that are going to be involved. Over to you, Martin.
Yeah, as Daz said, we've been thinking a little while. Daz kind of reached out to me, and we put our heads together. Chris had a few ideas, so I suppose we've taken the idea from the fact that sometimes we just get totally fed up talking about Newcastle. So we said, instead of having all that raw emotion with us when we get beat, let's just do very similar to like a Soccer AM type of program. With our own spin on it. So a bit of comedy, some stats, a couple of quizzes. We're going to stick in bits like a leaderboard where you get to predict the scores for the weekend fixtures. We're going to get a bit of a leaderboard up there and invite guests on and get really involved with other teams as well. So we will be looking out for other fans to join us as guests from other teams. So yeah, keep a watch out.
Okay, and just quickly, as Darlow pulls off another save to thwart the Arsenal attack, here's a little taster of what we've got coming.
You're the joker, the expert, the voice, but you're one of the crowd. A vision of weakness you don't.
Good luck, lads. It should be a cracker and something a little bit different for the NUFC Matters community. And I wish you all the best with that. Look forward to watching that myself on Wednesday at 9 o'clock. 47 minutes played, and Arsenal starting the second half as they finished the first in Newcastle's box. And again, you know, starting the second half the way that they finished the second half by putting chances wide and over the bar. I suppose, Daz, second half, are Newcastle going to be able to carry the luck that they've had in the first half? Because, you know, really, that's what carries Newcastle through a lot of games. Luck and Carl Darlow's wonderful performances in goal.
Yeah, there was a chance early in the game. When it came off the post for Arsenal, and my first reaction is Bruce's luck in here. It's going to be difficult to get away with that many corners and shots towards goal. But if Arsenal have left their shooting boots at home, you never know. And maybe I should just correct one comment that I said at halftime. I did say that maybe look at taking Miggy off, but I meant for later in the game. It wasn't at halftime, and it was to accommodate Anderson, because I can't see him putting Anderson into the centre midfield with Matty Longstaff. I think it won't suit Bruce to have two young heads in there in the centre of the park. So that was the reason why I was suggesting to bring off Miggy, and I think he'll tire as well as we get near the 70-minute mark. So just to correct myself as well.
Yeah, goals in the second half. Newcastle quite high on that percentage, 78%, as Shelvey takes probably one of the worst corners in Newcastle United's history and just basically side-foots it straight to the Arsenal back four. I really don't know why on earth John Joe Shelvey wears a black and white shirt. He's absolutely useless. Rich, 49 minutes on the clock. Newcastle still 0-0 with Arsenal. Arsenal again, I'll just stay with this, breaking down the left-hand side. Aubameyang again, and it's a goal. It is a goal. What a goal that is from Aubameyang. Does a Tino Asprilla flip in the middle of the air, and I'm afraid that's been coming for 49 minutes. And what a goal it was. Took it down the outside left, took it past a couple of players, and then just hit the sweetest of shots straight over the top of Darlow. Nothing he could have done about it, as the Arsenal team follow the safe celebrations by gathering in a circle. Looked a bit like a cult, actually, and did some kind of musical improvisation, shall we call it. But that was a wonderful ball out of from defence into attack, straight over the top. I'm just watching it again here. Oh, what a goal. It just gets better each time you see it, to be perfectly honest. Kraft just had no idea what to do. Aubameyang with the outside of his left foot, straight past Darlow at his near post, and Newcastle find them 1-0 down. Rich, that was coming, mate.
It was after that Lacazette start, wasn't it? I think, if you look, we'd gone from having a good ball, a corner, and once again, didn't get past the first man, and then, of course, we tried to keep them in there, and we just got hit on the break. I don't know what we were doing defensively. If you look, Kraft was about 5 yards behind everybody else. I don't know if it was just because he was so scared of Aubameyang, but this is the thing I was worried about at the start. This is where you start to think, if you're playing against pace against like Aubameyang, is it worth putting Yedlin in there, because he's probably the only fullback we've got with pace who could have kept up with him. But after the way they started, after that Lacazette chance with Darlow, good save, it was coming, unfortunately, and it looks like Bruce's looks run out. The only positive we've got is that stat you mentioned what came on the screen. We've got the highest percentage of second half goals in the league, 78%. So it just depends on whether we can actually score. That's the most important thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I would agree. Martin, 51 minutes on the clock. Steve Bruce is doing his usual pointing and, oh, woe is me. I don't know how that happened, blah, blah, blah. You can read it all. You can read him like a book when he's standing there, to be honest, when the cameras go on to him. But that came from Shelby's atrocious corner, as Stephen Ken says.
Yeah, sure. Look, he did the same, before the end of the first half. He didn't even beat the first man, so he's not offering anything. At the minute, I mean, look at the pass there. It's the same. We've reverted to type, which is backwards and sideways. So we're going back to Maddie, back to Shelby, back to Maddie, sideways, 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 slightly forward. So it's, there's no legs, no pace. We can't get down either side at the moment. And when we do, we can't even get a half decent ball into the guy that we know likes a ball into chest or onto the head to work with Wilson. So not only, playing as a 5 when we do and we isolate Wilson, we're now playing as a 4-4-2 and isolating 2 strikers. So, we seem to do that quite well. But look, Arsenal have come into it. Possession has started to tell. I said in the first half, Smith Rowe is starting to get a lot of ground in the middle of the park along with Saka. So it was only a matter of time. And as much as we obviously jinxed Aubameyang earlier on when we said he's gone to shit, how wrong we were proved. But never mind.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's the sign of a good striker, Martin. You can be doing absolutely nothing all game and then pop up and get a wonder goal like that.
Yeah, form is temporary, class is permanent.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, Chris, we were saying that about you when you had to dodge off. Are you feeling a bit refreshed? You're on mute, mate.
Rookie.
Oh, I hit it. I was in the full screen mode now, and it kept disappearing when I was trying to hit it.
All right, okay.
Yeah. Aubameyang is class. Class above anything we've got. And he picked apart the Newcastle defense there, like he's done many times. And it's sort of like a loaded gun, like the old pickoff thing. If you see a loaded gun in the first act, it's going to go off in the third act. The old saying. That's sort of what we've got here. And let's see if Newcastle will respond. I was pretty surprised by that stat that Newcastle has most of their goals in the second half. It feels like the games that we've won are we've scored early and hung on with some late finishes. But this is the real test. Can they come back and equalize, or will they just be an onslaught and just get crushed? And it's looking more like the latter.
Yeah, exactly. Chris Hall, thoughts on 55 minutes? Arsenal 1, Newcastle 0.
Yeah, I mean, it was coming, wasn't it? We all kind of felt that, and couple of interesting points actually. That you've just said, even in the lads as well. I think if you're struggling for form and you're lacking a goal, it's always good that Newcastle pop come along to town, because we always seem to help teams out in that sense. Look at Sheffield United. But he's a top draw player, and he's more than capable of that, which everybody knows. So it's to be expected. It's just disappointing, from comments that we made earlier about Kraft. It kind of happens exactly how we'd said it would. In terms of he's stood off, he's worried about his pace, and Aubameyang's had the opportunity to take him on, and then he's basically had a free shot at goal, hasn't he? It was a great finish, but he didn't have to work too hard for it. In terms of the stats, the 78% of goals in the second half, that doesn't surprise me at all, if I'm honest, because we notoriously always make a very slow start to the game. And I think that kind of sums up Bruce's tenure, really, in the sense that we've a lot of us have said that as soon as we go behind, we don't really have any hope, do we? And I can't think off the top of my head, but if we go behind, it's very rare that we get anything from a game. And the points that we have mustered up from a game, now I think about it, they were from the second half. So, we've always got half a chance if the game's still 0-0, which we've always felt at half time. And then if we do score a goal, we've got something to cling on to. In terms of the second half, it's just going to be interesting to see how the players respond for me. It's how we try and keep the score down. Can we get back in the game? I'm not hopeful, I'll be honest, but let's hope that Bruce makes some changes pretty soon, because we need them. We need legs. And I don't know if you noticed before, when Shelby was taking the free kick that he put into the box after the failed corner, he was absolutely blowing out his arse, wasn't he? He looks exhausted, which we called. He's not the fittest of players in the first place. And, the fact he's been out for so long, and then Steve Bruce decides to put him in probably his most important game of recent times in the engine room against a very fit Arsenal side. It's a baffling decision.
No, it is. Newcastle went close. Andy Carroll got through, but he skewed his shot wide, Pete. But Newcastle still 1-0 down. Arsenal attacking again.
Yeah, they're dominating. They've got their tails are up, and rightly so. We talked about Aubameyang's finish and run and how great it was. I don't think it was that great, to be honest. I thought it was quite simple. I thought the defending made it look better. I thought the defending from Kraft was absolutely shocking, and absolutely an example of our defending under Steve Bruce. Is that it's laboured, it's lazy. All we do is just back off, and we just allow teams to get closer and closer to our goal. He's there on a one-on-one situation where he's out wide, but either pull him out wide or get closer to him, in which you're going to either commit him one way or another. But the fact that he's had the opportunity to run into the box unchallenged and then be able to put the ball in, I just think it's horrible defending, or more so than a great finish. But it's just typical when we talked about Kraft in the fact that he's had a shocking game. I'd have pulled him at half time. He's just not a Premier League player. However, Carroll's still making himself a menace up there. And what I've noticed is Callum Wilson is starting to play closer to him. So he's starting to play in and around him again a little bit more of the ball, which is good. I do believe that Joe Linton just looks absolutely lost out there. He was tracking the ball just after the goal, and he's kind of like, he's just jogging around, just trying to put a foot in here, foot in there, and that's what he's done. He's just trying to break down play. Whenever he gets the ball, you don't know what he's doing with it. And it's just a waste of a position. You know, we need to be making those changes now. We're losing the game. We need to be going for it and getting some more attacking players on that are going to be a little bit more direct and try and push Arsenal back. And you know, we've talked about how late Bruce makes his changes, but you know, I'd be doing it right now. If he didn't, obviously he didn't do it at half time. But as others have said, there's still time. There's still time. It's only 1-0, and there's still opportunities to be able to get something from this game. So let's hope and pray that the right subs are made and that we've still got an attacking intent.
Okay, Liam, can you put a positive spin on this?
Oh, I don't know if I can, honestly. You know, just watching, it's so disheartening watching this. You know, the strikers are isolated. The defenders just seem worried every time that Arsenal get into the final third. The midfielders just seem non-existent. I mean, no disrespect to Matty Longstaff.
2-0.
I know you're slightly behind us, Liam, so we'll let you catch
Sorry,
up.
mate.
We'll let you catch
It's
up.
all right. No, I'd rather know so I can anticipate the horrors that are to come.
Smith Rowe, man.
Smith Rowe with a wonderful
Smith
cut
Rowe
in
and Saka.
Saka, yeah. I mean, that was a wonderful goal again.
The first goal before the second goal, before it comes.
Yeah, go on.
You know, proper strikers finish. I think Kraft was left for dead even when he was right next to Aubameyang. And, you know, I think it was inevitable. I'd love to know what Steve Bruce tells them.
Like, what are they fucking doing?
In the dressing room at half time, because clearly it's not worked. And Arsenal on the attack here, so we'll see what happens. Is Smith on the wing now? Cuts in. Oh, he doesn't even cut in. Saka. It's poacher's goal, really, but you know, just lack of pressure, lack of desire, really. And I think that it's a shame to see. I'm really disappointed that we conceded a goal like that.
Yeah, disappointing. That is Saka's 4th Premier League goal of the season, and it makes the score at this moment in time with 61 minutes on the clock. Arsenal 2, Newcastle 0. Daz, that was again no surprise. Smith Rowe has been outstanding tonight for Arsenal. He's dominated down that side. Kraft has looked out of his depth. Joe Linton is a passenger. Yeah. You know, Andy Carroll and Darlow are probably our best players tonight. John Joe Shelby's a disgrace to the shirt. I'm really, really not surprised at this at all. And I did see this coming when I saw that lineup tonight. I called this at the start. Newcastle are going to be, embarrassed in this game, and they're going through the motions.
How do I follow that, Steve? You've said everything. Yeah, I think it's kind of game over at this stage. Let's keep trying to see can we get a goal. I'd bring on Anderson now just to get him a bit of game time, get something out of the game, as in get him a few minutes. But yeah, it's looking a bit demoralising now. 1-0 down, you're thinking, okay, maybe they can produce something, but 2-0, no, there's no way this team is going to get 2 goals. So yeah, it's game over in terms of the result, but maybe they can get something else out of it. Even if it go into the 75th minute, maybe even think about resting Wilson.
A lot of people on Twitter saying to me, will PIF come back in if Newcastle are relegated? Look, if this takeover can, and lots of conflicting stories. Ben Jacobs, as you would expect, is coming out and saying that this hasn't been confirmed by BN. Look, there's definitely no smoke without fire. Journalists don't write stories without things being confirmed by their sources. People can be wrong, of course, but there is definitely movement. We've seen Saudi and we've seen Qatar make up their differences. There's definitely dots being joined, and those dots for me are making a zebra at the end of the day. I do think this takeover will go through, and ultimately the takeover could go through before the end of the season, which of course would you would imagine exhilarate even some of these docile players that we have playing in a black and white shirt, and make them want to play for a club that has a future, that has an investment, and has a chance of doing something. You think even the most numb-minded Newcastle player who, is at the moment literally a disgrace to the shirt would think, actually, I want to be part of the future. I want to be part of this, because ultimately that's what we're looking at now, and hopefully the moves that are going on in the Middle East at the moment are positive for us, and that takeover can be resurrected, put back on the table, and we can get not only Mike Ashley out of the club but Steve Bruce as well. Rich, 65 minutes gone now. Arsenal 2, Newcastle 0. It's a case of how many Arsenal are going to get, isn't it?
I hope not. But just, I think following on from your rant there, Steve, we actually had a fantastic move down there. Shelby played a sort of forward sideways ball to Kraft, and he put what you would think is a brilliant ball in, but it went straight to Leno, and then he just meanders back, and he's completely out of position. Lascelles meanders over towards Smith Rowe. So does Shelby, and Kraft's just meandering back from causing from the cross he put in. I don't understand how he's an international footballer. To be fair, he shouldn't even be a Premier League footballer. Regards to the other side, I think I'm getting more and more frustrated with Joe Linton. There's a few times when Lewis has got the ball and he's looking for options to play the ball. He's done it on a throw-in a couple of times when Saka, who's smaller than Joe Linton, is beating Joe Linton the ball. He should be holding off no problem. But then he's not moving to get the ball off him either. It's just absolute sheer frustration. It's some of the lack of the lack of motivation or not bothering to actually wanting to play football. They look like they're just literally there to make the numbers of some of these players, and it's just really, really frustrating. And as you said, Steve, some of these players should be, great save, Darlow. Some of these players should be playing up for these shirts because they want to be part of what could be the next step in a great history for our club. But some of them just don't want to be here. And I would there's about half this team playing tonight who I would happily see the back off.
Coming up to 65 minutes. We're 66 minutes now, so we'll be guaranteed to get a substitute very soon, Martin, from Steve Bruce. 66 minutes is usually round about that time, usually drifts into 70 minutes before he decides to change anything, even when we're playing as badly as this and 2-0 down. Arsenal making a change, so Bruce might get the idea from what Arsenal are doing as Partey goes off and Elneny comes on. Martin, where do we go? Are we going to see any light at the end of the tunnel in this game? Are we writing this off and are we starting to look ahead to Villa already?
Yeah, no, look ahead. This game's gone. I think, bring Anderson on, bring Murphy on. Make a couple of changes. Dead legs in the centre of the park. I don't think Matty's given that much. He's chasing shadows. We're nowhere near the likes of Smith Rowe. I mean, the fact that Thomas Partey is going off and has hardly been spoken about tells you the job that Smith Rowe has done just in front of that midfield. Kraft is out of position. I mean, for me, if you rerun that second goal, the defensive shape is awful. Yeah, there is no tracking back, and those players that are tracking back are just jogging. So I go back to the conversation on the Worldwide Show on Saturday. Those players don't want to play for Bruce. There's nobody busting a gut. I think Almiron and Carroll, to be fair, have put themselves about tonight. Probably the two best players on the pitch. Wilson, I feel sorry for because he's a quality player who's just must be shaking his head and going, "What the hell have I done?" Anybody else on that pitch from the back right through the midfield have offered absolutely zero. So again, for me, here's Murphy coming on.
Too late.
Right formation, wrong players, taking Carroll off now, and now we put on a winger who can put in a ball, and we take off the man that can actually head a ball. So that says it all for you, really. So yeah, game over, I'm afraid. Not only for that Steve, but also for us, Steve.
My God, unbelievable. Chris, Chris A, down to you, mate. Wow, what a substitution that is.
Absolute shambles. I don't even know where to start with Bruce and his taking the gloves off. It's like taking the gloves off to put his hand directly into the fire. So, it's like he's never going to learn. I don't know. I don't know how this team recovers from Bruce's ineptness. It's like was headed straight down. We need some rescue, and I don't know where it's going from. I don't know Bruce's career well enough to know whether he's ever sort of like self-corrected from the nosedive, but I suspect not. He's got all those relegations, so yeah. I mean, I don't know what they can get, but they need to do something now.
But the interesting thing now, there's no excuses because he said post-match the last game and over the press, they're now doing it his way.
Yeah. Can anyone explain what
So,
his way is?
Yeah, if this is his way, we'll get worse 2-0 and I've seen changes.
What is his new? What is his grand innovation that he's unveiled in this match? I don't see it.
That is actually worse than what we thought previously.
Yeah, the gloves are off, lads. Chris Hall, this is awful, and there's no other way. You can't sugarcoat it. It is absolutely awful. There's no cohesion. There's no effort. There's no plan A. There's no plan B. It's typical Steve Bruce. I mean, for me, this just stinks of him wanting to get a payoff and get sacked.
Absolutely agree. Do you know what? I've not actually been watching the last 5 or 10 minutes because I've paused the second goal because I'm that angry about it. And I'm just going to quickly run through it. I know you're going to watch it later, but I literally cannot believe what I've just seen. Mate, honestly, you know, if you actually watch that.
I know what you're going to say.
Mate, it's awful. It's literally awful. Like, the keeper rolls the ball out. Thomas Partey picks it up just outside, the keeper's box, right? Nobody approaches him. Shelby's towards the right. Matty's nowhere near. So then Thomas Partey plays a simple ball out to the left. I think it's to Tierney from memory or Aubameyang, right? He runs slightly. Shelby looks like he's interested, starts jogging slowly towards it, right? And then the ball goes out to the left. John Joe Shelby's nowhere near. And as Steve just said before, you want to see John Joe Shelby when he's approaching the box. He's not even jogging. He's just going like that. Kraft, no effort to try and get back in the right back position. And I tell you something else, and I don't like criticising him because I do like him as a player, but Kieran Clark there is shocking. He keeps looking over at Saka. He knows no one's on him. Matty's nowhere near him. John Joe Shelby's out on the left. He looks at him about 3 times, and only when the ball goes in, he goes to him. And it's too late. It's too late. He's nowhere near him. And poor Darlow's got no chance. It's absolutely disgraceful. I mean, Carragher and Neville will have a field day with Shelby after this game because that is, as Steve said, it's disgraceful, and I don't want to see him anywhere near the shirt again because that is absolutely disgusting. What you've just seen, I'm going to stop it now. I'm going to stop looking at it, but it's absolutely unacceptable. And then obviously you lads have been keeping me up to date there. Murphy on, Caddle off. What's all that about? Do you know what? And I know. I made quite a bold statement earlier on before the game, and I'm sorry if it offends anyone, but I really want to see 3-4-5 now. I really do, because I'm sorry if this finishes 2-0, there'll be people out there going, "Oh, it's only 2-0 away to Arsenal. It's not a bad result." It's absolutely appalling. This is appalling. And the only time people are going to stand up and take notice is if they see that we've had a hammering. And then people will start looking into it a bit more then and seeing, is there an issue? Is there a problem? If this stays 2-0, for me, there's going to be a lot of people making excuses for Bruce and saying, "Oh, it's Arsenal away, what you expect." But it's the performance, it's the effort, it's the endeavour, it's the lack of direction, it's everything. This isn't good enough. And for Bruce to make as bold a statement as he did, he's not changed anything. Nothing's changed. Nothing's going to change. The only change that should happen is Bruce.
Yeah, I mean, this needs to be sorted out now. Pete, we're devoid of ideas, we're devoid of confidence, we're devoid of effort. I said this 6 weeks ago, mate. He's lost the dressing room. He lost the dressing room then. It's starting to show on the pitch. Something needs to be done, and forget the takeover for now. That will happen when it needs to happen or when it can happen. But there needs to be a change. There needs to be something done, and Mike Ashley, Lee Charnley need to get their heads together and get this sorted out, because we're getting dragged into a relegation battle. We're in a relegation battle, and these players are sleepwalking into a relegation. And somebody mentioned in the chat there, this team won't come back up from the Championship. In fact, this team will desert us like a sinking ship.
I said it last night. On the rant show. So if we go down, we will not come back up. Okay, because we've not got players that will either stay around or we don't have the generalised quality that we had the last two occasions to get us back up. And look, it's a COVID pandemic. My cash is not going to put the sort of money in that he did the last two times to get us back up into the Premier League. He just wouldn't. So look, this has been a disgrace. The one thing I'll say about that second goal, you cannot allow a midfielder to arrive on the penalty spot without being challenged. Okay, and you're absolutely right about Kieran Clark. He does look over to it, but Kieran Clark's in the right position for a centre back. He's looking over to say, where are my centre midfielders to track that guy to get there to block that ball. So if he comes out for the ball, he's then exposing Darlow in the middle. But if he stays where he is, he's obviously out of position for the guy that does eventually receive the ball that scores the goal. It is horrendous recovery. It's horrendous recovery. When you go back to the beginning, you've got no legs in that midfield. They are not able to get up there and get back for 90 minutes. Right? Why John Joe Shelby on the pitch, I have no idea. Hayden must be injured. He must be injured to not be on this pitch, right, playing this game tonight. It absolutely baffles me. If he is not sacked after this game, we are then effectively throwing another game away on Saturday, because we are seeing exactly the same performance and exactly the same result, right, when we go to Villa on Saturday, right, if the decision is not made. If Mike Ashley and Lee Charnley are not discussing other options and other managers right now, right, they are literally throwing us to the wolves. What I mean by Wolves is the Championship, because we are going one way right now, and it is down. There is no doubt about it. We are the worst performing team in the Premier League currently with our performance in the last 6 games. Right, we are not even looking like scoring a goal. We are looking like conceding more goals. We are going one way. It has to stop. The rot has to stop. Steve Bruce walked away against that Sheffield in that 3-0.
3-0.
That was so easy.
It's the same. It's the same again. It's exactly the same again. It's time after time. Steve Bruce walked away in that Sheffield United game thinking that he was going to get sacked the next day. He's been lucky enough to make it nearly 7 days still in charge of this club, and he knows it. And his interviews have smacked of it. He should be sacked right now, because it is damaging the players and the club. Okay,
it's still in. It's not all the way out. It's still in. That's going to count.
Just on. Yeah, he's all right.
Yeah, maybe.
It's just a VAR check here, as the ball looked as if it potentially could have gone out of play, and just before Aubameyang took the ball into the back of the net. We're just waiting.
Do any of our players mark anyone in the box? Does anyone mark anybody in the box, or do we just leave everybody to just have a free shot? I mean, the ball comes in, and there's 5 players in the box, and nobody's marking.
There's a few things that are missing right now.
You can have as much room as you want.
We have no leaders on the pitch. We have no leaders in this. We have no leaders on this.
Shelby's not even moving. Oh, that he gets there now
and pulls up.
Nowhere near. No one's anywhere near anyone.
We've got no leaders in this whatsoever. Lascelles is not a captain, right? He needs to focus on his performances, because he has been shocking tonight, right? He's been absolutely shocking, and he's gone backwards in his performances. The quality that Benitez put into him is slowly seeping out over the last 18 months, and now it's gone. His ability is championship level. What he's shown this season is championship level performances. And when you're focused too much on your performance, you don't lead. And he's not leading at the moment. He's not the leader that we knew back in 2016. It's gone. it's gone. Shelby's never been a leader. Right, he is just playing his own game and doing his own thing. He did it at Swansea, he did it at Liverpool, and he's doing the same with us. He just continues to play his own game. We've got no leaders in this team whatsoever. And when you haven't got leaders, you are asking to get beat and you are asking to get relegated. This needs to happen, and it needs to happen now, as in tomorrow or even tonight. The axe needs to be wielded as soon as possible.
There you go, Pete. Hendrick on for Longstaff. Shelby still on.
Lovely.
To be honest, I don't care. I really don't care. You can put anyone right now. The game's done. The game is done and dusted. It's just giving people minutes. It's a joke.
I'm actually not surprised at any substitution Steve Bruce makes anymore. I'm actually more surprised the fact that Arteta took Aubameyang off and put Willian on when the kid's on a hat trick. If I was Aubameyang, I'd be absolutely foaming because the kid's struggling to perform and not getting the goals. That would have been a massive confidence boost. So it's obviously Arteta trying to say, well, I'll make him more hungry for goals by taking him off. Strange substitution. Liam, come to you now, mate. Hopefully you've managed to catch up. I know you were 2 minutes behind, so you'll be aware that it's now 3-0 and you'll have seen the goal. This is a collapse of monumental performances in the second half, and we've talked on Matchday Live on more than one occasion about what Steve Bruce actually says in the dressing room at half time to have such an effect. He certainly should have been going in, saying the same as the first half, lads, and we might get something out this. But what on earth has he said to get this performance from the lads?
Well, first and foremost, I have caught up and I've seen the goal. It's too easy for them. Honestly, too easy. It feels like men against boys today. In regards to what Steve Bruce says in the dressing rooms, I don't even know. But surely he cannot be full of praise. Even after that first half, he cannot be full of praise with his team. And when's it going to end, honestly? When is this drought of poor form and terrible performances, terrible signings? When is it going to end? It's horrible to watch. And week in, week out, we are having to put ourselves through 90 minutes of this. It's horrible. It's depressing to watch. And I think we do definitely need Steve Bruce gone now. It's so, even going forward, we seem scared. The substitutions have been terrible. Shelby, I think, without a doubt, should have been off at half time. He's not offered anything in this game, absolutely nothing. He's barely even moved. I'd love to see a heat map of John Joe Shelby, actually. He'd probably just still be in the centre circle, honestly. But
I don't think you'll find any heat yet.
Has he got a pulse?
Yeah, it will be cold. But honestly, I mean, you know what I'm looking forward to, actually, at the end of this game? I'm looking forward to seeing
the television off.
Getting a refund.
Turning it off the end of this game. I'm looking forward to seeing Lee Ryder's play ratings as well, just to see how he rates them. But these people, I couldn't give them any higher than a 5 right now.
Don't worry, I'll be doing my own player ratings tonight. I'm in a right fettle tonight, Liam, as we call it in the northeast. And
I've joined for a good podcast, then, haven't I?
You have, mate. You have, And Smith Rowe's gone off. Martinelli's come on for Arsenal, and Smith Rowe, what a talent he is! Cracking little player. Man of the match for me tonight by a country mile for Arsenal. And when we had Quincy on for the FA Cup game, Smith Rowe, of course, was on the bench. And he said that he is a cracking player. And, of course, he did come on and make the difference in the FA Cup game as well. So, well played to him. Arsenal 3, Newcastle United 0, 82 minutes on the clock, Chris. And it's Daz, sorry. And we're looking, we're looking at this situation and just scratching our heads. The substitutions that have been made since I last spoke to you is, again, Hendrick coming on. It's another pedestrian midfielder who Newcastle fans lost faith with probably, a lot earlier than I did. But, right at the start of the season, people could see through Hendrick.
Yeah, and I remember when we were first linked with him, I said no to Hendrick. But anyway, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's on the pitch now either. I pity Wilson didn't come off just to rest him because he's the only one that can put the ball in the back of the net first. But yeah, at this stage, we've gone past ranting and raving about Bruce out. It has to turn into a plea now. Ashley has to see sense. He's playing Russian roulette here with his money, really, his investment. Like we're in such danger here now. We're getting relegated. Like it won't be this game, but the pattern has been set. Like we've been dropping like a stone, and not only does he need to bring in someone, he also needs to go into the market. I know he's not going to spend money, so he needs to bring money, bring in some loans, like consult with the manager that's coming in, or will the manager that could potentially come in get a say? Will he just be handed to whoever that's been scouted by Steve Nixon or whatever? I don't know. We just need to freshen things up because this can't continue much longer. It's just a disaster, one thing after the other.
Yeah, 84 minutes on the clock as there's a horrendous challenge there by Jamal Lascelles, I think it was, on Lacazette. He took him out on the edge of the box. It's got to be a yellow card for that, you would imagine.
He's been awful.
Yeah, Lascelles just straight in. It's just a bad challenge, a clumsy challenge. It's the best way to describe it's a centre forwards challenge, actually, from a centre half, and that should see his name taken. It's a free kick on the edge of the box. Let's just stay with this before we come to Martin. This is Lacazette standing over it. Getting a good view of this, lads, to be fair, isn't he? Martinelli's fancying it, I think.
Willian can take
Willian?
Yeah, Willian can take this now.
And he'd score.
Come on, Daz, be optimistic, buddy.
No, that day's gone, Martin.
That's a nail in the coffin if Willian scores, because Arsenal fans absolutely hate him and don't want him anywhere near the pitch. So if he puts it in the net, that just tells you everything you need to know about this game and our performance today. Thank God for that.
He didn't. It's still 3-0. 5 minutes to go plus stoppages. Martin, yeah, it's not looking good, mate.
I think the thing for me, Emile Smith-Rowe is 20 years old. Was on the bench for the cup game, came on, made a massive difference. Has played from the start tonight, and as a 20-year-old kid from Arsenal's academy, has bossed our midfield. We've not got nowhere near him. He's set up plays. He's created a goal. He's everything you want. He is box to box and has made Matty and Shelby and our back four look absolutely 10 times worse than they are, than we know they are, but he's made them look like they are. I think the thing with who comes in, I just have this horrible, horrible feeling that if Bruce goes, that Ashley will do something like bringing in a Mark Hughes, and it really worries me because I don't think we'll be any better off. And I think the other thing with loans is it's still money. Oh yeah, too late. 86 minutes. What's the point?
Miguel Almiron off, Elliot Anderson on, 87 minutes on the clock. Go on,
waste of time. I think the problem you have, and maybe Pete will back me up on this, is that the January window is notoriously hard to get a hold of players. It's not like the summer window. And if we're going to free up spaces for loans, we need to get rid of players. So, are there players going? Is there a deal for Atsu? Is Gale going? And if you do get loans, what's out there to bring in for a half a season or the remainder of the season? What you do bring in, you've still got player wages and agents' fees. So there's still a spend. So I still don't see a way forward. But this, as we currently are, is relegation form, and there is no other word for it.
Yeah.
But Martin, just to add to that, who would want to come and play in this team?
Nobody.
Who that's any good or worth their soul want to come and play in this team? You've got Josh King playing for Walkers that are in the Premier League, in the Championship. Why would he want to come and fight another relegation battle again? Why would he want to come and do that? And when he had teams in Italy and Spain that were looking at him in the summer, and he's got a free contract, he's on release in the summer. Why would any?
The other side of it as well is, Pete, you could be brought in on loan as a left winger. You've no guarantee you're even going to be playing there, because Bruce could play in centre midfield. He could play as a one of his false tens or his false nines. So, again, if you're a good player, you're going to be looking at the situation, looking at the ownership, looking at the model and the manager, and you're going to be going, I don't want to be anywhere near that. So I think we're, as it currently stands, we're in big trouble, lads. I think.
Yeah, Chris, over to you, mate. And as we see out the final part of this game, 89 minutes gone, and Newcastle 3-0 down at Arsenal. Depressing, mate. Yep, Chris here.
You're on mute.
Yep, still on mute.
No, it wasn't that I was on mute. I couldn't. I had too many windows, so I was clicking through the windows trying to find this window.
Okay,
mate. Camera. So now I'm back. Yeah, no, this is just this is Bruce Ball, turned up to 11, and we think it's just a 0. No life, nothing. It's just defined by sort of nihilism. Like, this is him not sort of trying to get sacked to collect a paycheck. I don't know what other tactics he's trying to pursue in this match, but he said he'll never quit, he'll never resign. That'd be the noble thing to do. That every Newcastle fan would be thankful to Steve Bruce for doing. One decision would be to resign, but he won't do that. So because he wants to get paid out, it's probably, like everyone said in previous shows, his last shot at a Premier League job, and he'll be lucky to see the bottom half of the championship. Hello, League One, Steve Bruce.
Yep, Chris Hall, over to you, mate. 3 minutes of stoppage time announced.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest positive, isn't it, so far? The fact that we've only got another 3 minutes of this. It's been, I think that, the second half's been even worse than the first half, hasn't it? There's just nothing there. This is as low as I've felt about Newcastle in a long time. Like this game particularly, I don't know what it is. There's just nothing there. There's nothing there, and the subs just put the cherry on the cake. Bringing Anderson on for 3 minutes. What's the point in that? It is just unbelievable that he's still in the job now. I don't even know what to say. I'm that annoyed about it, and I'm that disappointed. I just hope that Ashley or his cronies are watching this, and that they report back to him and say, "Listen, you've got to do something here," because it zoomed in before, didn't it, on Agnew, Clements, and Bruce, and they were all mumbling between themselves, pointing, obviously making comments that things aren't good enough or the players aren't doing what they're being told to. No screaming, no shouting, just having a little moment between themselves. And they're not going to take us forward. They're not going to turn this situation around. We're on a sinking ship, and it's going down rapidly. I mean, we've had some really tough results as well against us this week. Brighton picked up a win. West Brom picked up a win. Now is the time for the action to happen. Now is the time to make the change. And you can't let Villa. If we play Villa now, would play the way we are, Villa will turn us over as well. Probably roughly the same score. Let's not forget, this is a poor Arsenal side who are out of form, and they must be absolutely licking their lips when at half time when they thought these aren't up for this, and they've come out second half. Aubameyang's put the first one in. Smith Rowe's had the ball, and you know what? I agree with you, Steve. I was surprised he took Aubameyang off. Especially because he could have had a couple more, couldn't he? But perhaps they're already thinking about the next game and thinking, right, let's take Smith Rowe off, let's take Aubameyang off, rest them, ready for the next game. Newcastle aren't going to offer anything here this second half. It's done, and yeah, what a sad demise. And you know what? I can't wait for this to finish. I'll obviously watch it from the start and the finish, and I can't wait to hear what Bruce says, and I can't wait to hear what the pundits say.
God.
Full time, Newcastle United 3-0 defeat at Arsenal. I hate to say it, but that's what I predicted. Pete, yeah, 3-0 down at Arsenal. Some people will, some people will say, well, it's Arsenal, that's what you would expect. But this is a team that we held in the FA Cup. We played a lot better in the FA Cup, it has to be said, than we did tonight. Lack of effort from the majority of the players on show, and Steve Bruce coming out fighting prior to this match, that hasn't worked out well at all.
No, not at all. So all that fighting talk has just been an absolute, again, a load of rubbish. Like I said previously, it just comes out week to week and says something to try and shock the fans, or to give something to the media that something's going to change, and it hasn't. We're exactly where we were on Tuesday. We're exactly where we were in the FA Cup and against Leicester and so on and so forth. Nothing is going to change. And that's it. He needs to go. Enough. It's enough now. It's enough. We've seen enough from him. There's not going to be any change. He is not going to take us forward. He is not the manager to be managing a Premier League team, and it's quite obvious. And I'm sorry, if he's not sacked within the next 2 days, that we are going one way. And Mike Ashley is obviously not doing the right thing by the club and himself by making sure that he's protecting his investment. So look, the subs, the performance, the body language is what I looked at from 2-0 down. The body language of the players. You look at Callum Wilson; he's got his arms in the air and just kind of like he doesn't know what to do. I feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for Darlow having to be on the end of those 3 goals, because again he's made some good saves. I don't think he really put a foot wrong tonight. Have to be honest. But it's the players around him. They need change. We've got Villa, Leeds, Everton. Okay, all teams that are doing okay. But you would like to think you could get something from it if you had a new manager bound, potentially. Then you've got the likes of Chelsea, Man United. But after that, you've got a run of games up to April that we can really get points from. If you look at those fixtures after we play Chelsea, Man United, we've got a clutch of games there up until I think about early or first or second week of April that we can get a lot of points from. So that gives you an opportunity for a manager to come in, to bed his system and his way of playing as the club, get these players up and with confidence that there's still time to salvage this season. We're still, regardless of us playing 18 games, we're still 7 points clear of the bottom 3. There is still time to do the right thing, and Mike Ashley has to do the right thing for the fans, for the club, and for himself. He has to make sure that happens. This is it now. We can't go into Villa with Steve Bruce as manager. It is so clear that every single one of those players, and I'm putting myself out there now, I'm saying every single one of those players is not playing for that manager. Every single one of them. They are done with him. And it seems like they're just going through the motions to ensure that he's out the door. Chris talked about Bruce and Agnew and Clemens all chatting between themselves. They're chatting between themselves because none of them know what to do. None of them have the answers. None of them have got an absolute clue of what to do. Bruce always goes back to those two to find out what's best in this situation. As a manager, he hasn't got an idea. He has not got an idea, and neither of his backroom staff, so they all need to go.
Okay, Liam, sum up that match for me.
Where do I even start? I mean, I can barely even pick my head up after that. 90 minutes of absolute horrible, stinky football. I think we're all tired of it. We definitely are all tired of it. Steve Bruce, he needed to make an impression this game, and I thought the lineup maybe he would have done. And I felt a bit confident at the start of the game. I thought we could have got a draw at least. Score draw, I think I would have been fine with 3-0. I mean, it doesn't even sort of reflect on how we played. It could have been 5-6 easily. Steve Bruce talks about how he wants to play his way, but I think now, honestly, it needs to be the highway for him. None of the fans are happy. It's clear that none of the fans are happy. And I think it is definitely time to go for Steve now. I'm sick of it, and I think we all are. sick of it. But just another game, another defeat, and playing a team like Aston Villa next to, I'd say, in terms of reputation, are quite level with us. And you see how they're doing this season compared to us, and it just goes to show what a good manager can do, what a bit of ambition could do. And so it is just horrible to see for the club, but I'm not very happy with that at all.
Okay, Daz, sum up that game for me, please.
Yeah, just 2 points, Steve. Really, on the match, will be very brief. Same shit, different day. Ashley pulled the trigger. And on a different topic, if you've been affected by what you've seen tonight, join us Wednesday at 9 p.m. for Loaded Football Weekly, where your troubles will disappear for an hour or so. I promise.
Fair play and a good bit of product placement there. Rich, your assessment of tonight's match, Newcastle losing 3-0 at the Emirates.
I think I didn't do the show on the Sheffield United game, but I felt exactly the same as what you did. I was angry. I've just got no feeling at all. I'm just absolutely numb after watching that. There was no passion, no fight, no press. When they did press, there was like 3 people pressing one person. If there was a press, no organisation. I'm just, dear me, it seriously beggars belief. I saw on Twitter today, someone said that these coaches, Premier League managers, should be made to do their UEFA Pro license. He's been getting by on this diploma for God knows how long because he had 10 years of service beforehand. I think that just goes to show how much of a dinosaur he is out of the times. If you look I think one of the really frustrating things to me is you see other managers and say, like Steven Gerrard will say, I've spoke to Rafa recently. If I want an idea, or I've spoke to such and such, or whatever. You start to think this guy played under probably the best Premier League manager we've had in Sir Alex Ferguson. Why is he not trying to reach out and say, look, what can I do different or anything? Is it just because he's just so stubborn and stuck in his ways that he has to do it his way? Well, I'll probably say the last 18 months he hasn't done it his way, has he? It's his first time tonight. So thank God it hasn't been like that for the last 18 months because that was dire. But, he admits himself. You look at all those comments that was put on Twitter the last few days. He was a bang average player himself, and he's telling the players to go out and do their best and stuff like that. He said he's made his career being a bang average manager. But then you look at his assistant, Steve Agnew. He's a bang average player as well. So was Stephen Clement. I can't remember anything from them as players, really, obviously, apart from Bruce doing well when he was at Man United. But then again, you look at all the players he had around him and stuff like that. There's just nothing in this team to be proud of at the minute. It's just absolute and utter dross that we're getting served week on week on week. Mike Ashley has to pull the trigger now because he's got to protect his investment. If he doesn't, we are in deep trouble, and we'll end up probably doing something like Sunderland, unfortunately, because the takeover won't happen. We'll go down because we'll have no team next year because the ones who are good enough will be an exodus. The other ones who are there will probably be a few youngsters, and then they'll be looking to get some, championship experience to just stabilise. And the championship we went down, it's just seriously, it's just negative after negative after negative. It's just absolute dross. I'm just absolutely annoyed as hell.
Yep, I can hear that in your voice, Rich. Martin, over to you.
Yeah, it's hard to pick a load of words that you can describe with it that already hasn't been said. I think the players look disinterested. There's an absolute lack of energy and teamwork between them. We were back to sideways and lateral passing and backwards passing again tonight with Shelby and Maddie in the middle. Joe Linton offered zero. It's just a birth in a team that gives us absolutely nothing dimensionally. Bruce came out in the press this week, giving it yards, blaming players. Gloves are off. We're going to do it my way. Well, do you know what? If that was your way, mate, and the games before weren't, it's all horseshit. That was abysmal. And there is no pride from any of those players putting on a black and white shirt. And I'm ashamed to say that they play for this club because it's a bloody disgrace at the moment. It starts at the top with Ashley, but this is where we've got to. He got rid of one of the best managers in the world and didn't back him and brought in Bruce and gave him money, and this is what we've ended up with. Like Sir Wilson and stuff, I find it hard to be negative towards him because I actually feel quite sorry for him. But when you've got players that can go in and put a ball in, you bring on a Murphy and you take off your striker, who's probably the only one tonight in Carroll who actually did anything, to be fair, it just baffles, which just goes to show that there's nothing in the logic of what Steve Bruce is doing. So I agree with the rest of the lads. I think unless something happens immediately, it's a one-way ticket at the minute. And I think Rich is 100% right. We just become another ship in the Championship because I think we just tumble further and further and further because I don't think the Saudis will want that. As much as I'm positive about the takeover, I think the scary thing for me is I actually think Ashley will gamble. I don't think he'll pull the trigger. And that's a horrendous thought, but I think he will not make a move unless we physically hit the bottom three, because that's his form. He doesn't normally make a move until March, and we've seen it time and time again. So I doubt that he will pull the plug.
Okay, Chris here.
Yeah, I mean, what can be said? I mean, the lads have said it all. We obviously that's Steve Bruce saying that he taking the gloves off. I agree with what Martin said that Ashley will probably hang on, but the guy that needs to take the gloves off now is Mike Ashley. They say my way or the highway. Bruce kind of playing, but Bruce needs to hit the highway. Taxi him away from this club. Get out of our club. It's just, if there's one time when Mike Ashley needs to buck his let's hold on to a March strategy, it's now, because he's never had a relegation battle that had so much riding on it. Like we've all said, if Newcastle goes down, PIF walks. I bet they don't want to mess with the Championship squad that will struggle to get back up unless you just make a Man City in the Championship, which doesn't really working out. So my heart says that Bruce needs to go. My head says that Ashley will hang on, like Martin said, and the club will be for it. I can't identify a manager who will come in under Ashley in this position, the Mark Hughes position, but we've got to get somebody in here that can get this club right, because Bruce is all wrong.
Yep. Okay, Chris Hall, you're the last man to give us an assessment on the game tonight before we ask everybody for the man of the match.
To be honest, I haven't really got much to add on based on what the lads have said. They've all put it excellently. I hope that Martin's wrong. I know Martin. I tend to agree with you. I think Ashley hangs on in there. I hope he doesn't. I hope tonight's results pushes Bruce further towards the door. And let's not beat about the bush. If this continues, we are going to end up in the bottom three, and there is a danger of us going down. And my biggest worry now is, the Saudis watching on, and the consortium as a whole, and thinking, "Oh, this is a risk. We can't do this." I mean, as Pete said earlier, we're 18 games in. It's not, we've got over half a season left. We're not even halfway yet, and I think we've got Villa on Saturday. We can't keep Bruce for Villa. It really, we just can't. We can't do it. And if we do, I noticed a couple of people there putting in, we need St. Maximin back. Don't think St. Maximin's going to change this, because give it 10 minutes and St. Maximin, his head will be rock bottom. He's he's a great player, and I'm a big fan of him, but he's not going to drag the lads through this and pull a performance and urge a bit of positivity. It's not going to happen. St. Maximin is not the answer to this. The answer to this is Bruce going. And right now, as I said last night, I literally would take anyone because something needs to be done, and we need to stop this rot. And I just hope that Ashley has seen that, or he's heard from his advisors, and they've said, "Listen, it's time to go. Needs to make this change," because let's hope the takeover is weeks, months away, and he can't leave things as it is because it is under serious threat if he leaves it as it is. Because 4, 5, 6 games, we're not going to be where we are in the league now. We're going to be right in that bottom 3.
Yeah. Okay. Man of the match then from you, Chris, please.
Man of the match. I'm you know what? I don't normally do this. I'm going to give it to Smith now. He's a young lad. He's done fantastically well, and he deserves it. None of our players deserve it. Carroll did well in terms of his effort. Miggy did well in terms of his effort, and Darlow did what he could. But I can't give it to a Newcastle player tonight. I just can't.
Fair enough, Pete.
I give it to Andy Carroll. He's the only one that gave a little bit of heart. He's the only one that led the team. He's the only one that tried, in my opinion, to really make something happen in the time that he was on the pitch. So I give it to him, to be honest. But I don't know if anyone's heard what Gary Neville said on Sky, but again, he's reiterated that the new owners need to come in and as soon as possible. So again, he's reiterated the point. Something needs to change. We can get a new manager in. It may make a slight bit of difference, a slight difference in terms of us getting enough points to stay in the league. But we all know we need new owners. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Liam, any man of the match for you?
Well, I'm not going to pick a Newcastle player. Not a chance. There were people that did all right for Newcastle, but I've got to go for an Arsenal player. I've got to go for toss up between Smith Rowe and Aubameyang, but I'm going to say Smith Rowe. He was always in the right places. He seemed like a breath of fresh air on the ball for Arsenal, and we really need a player like him. Assisted the goal for Saka, and he's looking like a really good young prospect right now. So fair play to him. He's my man of the match.
Okay, well done on your debut as well, Liam. It's always a difficult one to come in on, but you did very well, mate. So well done.
Really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for all the support as well throughout the stream. Thanks to everyone that's been watching as well. Shout out to my mates as well who are watching.
Yeah, good stuff. Daz?
Yeah, well done, Liam. I reiterate that, what Steve said. Yeah, the man of the match was an easy one for me. It was the person that flipped the switch to be on in Saudi Arabia. Well done.
Fantastic. Good stuff. Rich, your man of the match, mate.
The kit man, because at least we looked smart tonight.
That's one of those ones where you hope nobody else nicks your joke, Rich. That was good, yeah. Martin?
Well, I thought Daz was going to start off there with each tangent for a little bit there.
Yeah, okay. Martin,
I will just add, though, I seriously think if this takeover doesn't go through within the next 2 weeks, I seriously, my thoughts of it going through will actually diminish, unfortunately, because I don't think anything after the transfer window closes, more and more likely the Saudis will probably pull out. I know I've always been the same as you, Steve, that I'm optimistic, but if it gets to the end of this transfer window, no changes have been made, no reinforcements, I don't think they'll come back in, unfortunately. And I hate saying that.
Yeah, okay, mate, no problem. Martin?
Yeah, like a couple of the other guys, no Newcastle player for me today, unfortunately. I don't think. I thought Miggy and Carroll did well, but not enough to get a man of the match. So for me, 20-year-old Smith Rowe, Boston midfield, looks like a real up-and-coming star. Good point there on Sky Sports. He's served his time abroad and on a loan at Huddersfield. I think he's going to turn out to be a real top-quality player. So, I'd love a player like that at Newcastle at the minute. But yeah, he was my man of the match. As a pairing, for those that did speak up and are starting to get the gist of what we've been moaning about, I'll give me second man of the match to Carragher and Neville, because I'm delighted that they spoke up tonight. And the comments from Gary Neville there, a few seconds ago about the only thing that's going to fix us is a change of ownership, and it needs to hurry up quickly. So fair play to the two boys on the commentary tonight for their bang-on honesty. So they're my men of the match.
Okay, Chris here, you're the final man to give you man of the match tonight.
All right, lads. I'm also going to break form and say that my man of the match is Liam and all you lads who soldiered through the whole match with everyone being able to watch you suffer. I of course had to tap out during halftime because I wasn't feeling tired, but halfway through the first half, I just felt like a truck hit me and just sort of like being bruised. The effect of all this stuff. So yeah, you guys, well done, Liam, your debut, and hopefully we've got something to look forward to, and keep it optimistic like Baz and the lads. But yeah, I can't put any Newcastle player forward as the man of the match, and besides Arsenal players setting out, it's got to be all of you guys who, through these horrible string of live matches, have been able to expose yourself to everyone and all the people watching. And it's not easy. It's never been easy being a Newcastle fan, but this stretch is among the worst.
Okay, thanks for that, mate. Yes, a lot of people asking, will the 5-minute rant show be back? Yes, it will be. Those of you who missed out last night on the first one of these, it went really well. It's your chance, really, to come and vent your spleen. We are going to be doing this on a Monday night at 6 till 7, which will be before ladies' night. So join us for the next 5-minute rant. We post the link so you can join us in the studio and come on and tell us what you want to say about Newcastle United. You can use it as an opportunity, of course, to promote something, to talk about something. You choose the route we go on, and I'm always going to be joined on that show by Pete and Chris Hall. So join us for that. And if you want to hear about the Supporters Trust, just jump on the playlist, look for fan shows, and you will find an interview with Greg and a couple of other committee members from the NUFC. Went really well last night. It was a live Q&A. Well worth having a look at that, and joining the Trust, who are now up to 16,000 members, which took me by surprise last night. I am back tomorrow night. Things are slightly out of kilter this week, but the ladies' night is tomorrow night now at 7:30 until 8:30. Wednesday night we have Liam Kennedy joining me on 6 till 7 as normal, and Thursday night Supermac and Gibbo will be joining me, and then we'll be back with the three amigos as normal on Friday night. I think the only thing I really want to say to finish the show, lads, is a quick message to Steve Bruce. Thanks to everybody for joining us. Take care, sleep well, and probably best to avoid match of the day midweek. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again.